Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a 512 Friday. That's when we play jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you can catch live right here in the ATX. Patrick, who we jamming right now?
This is Sir Woman, and she is playing tonight at the Planet K South Lamar.
I like the voice.
Yes, very talented.
Planet K, South Lamar.
Hey, we're getting into South by season, which means pop-up shows all over the place. They have a little pop-up festival. A bunch of good artists are playing down there tonight.
Nice.
Yes, Planet K on South Lamar.
There you go. All right, yeah, he's right. South by Southwest. This is the tech.
We are
part
getting
of it,
into the tech part of it. Yes.
This is like the tech part of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's y'all know the deal.
Yeah.
Y'all know if y'all want to be a part of the madness, then get out there in it. But otherwise, most Austinites trying to avoid.
The
madness.
musicians like doing the tech part too, because they're like, well, y'all got money. The
yes.
music part, we're playing other musicians. The tech part, hey man, y'all got money, right?
Yeah, because you can hang around a lot of musicians, and all y'all just middle class, middle income type musicians.
If you're good enough,
if
you're lucky,
if you're lucky, yeah. You hang in the tech world, you can hang around a couple of millionaires and maybe a couple of billionaires potentially. Yep. All right. Speaking of billionaires, let's talk about Jerry Jones's team, the Dallas Cowboys, gentlemen, and we'll get into the compensatory picks because the Cowboys actually have a couple of more draft picks, so it's good news for all you Cowboys fans. But first, I want to get into this mock draft that I saw. Well, actually, it's multiple mock drafts now that I've saw about the Cowboys. And these mock drafts, by the way, Mel Kiper is probably the one of the more renowned mock drafters out there, all right, and so is Todd McShay. Both of those guys really respected during mock season, and Dane Brugler as well for the Athletic. Guys, really, I think you check out all their mocks, Harge. All their latest mocks have the Cowboys taking the same position and the same player.
That means they've been talking to the same people.
The same position and the same play. How rare is that for those three? I don't think that's ever happened before.
I've never seen it with the same group of people picking the exact same position at that time.
Unless it's like the number one overall pick or like the number one top five, something like that. That's a little easier. Number 26, you got all the post-combine picks have the Cowboys taking a tight end and Dalton Kincaid.
Yep. Kincaid,
crazy.
Who we didn't get a chance to really see at Utah because he didn't play in the game against Texas. So
he's a good player though. He's
definitely a good player.
He's 6'4". He's kind of undersized for a tight end. I guess 6'4", 246.
Don't draft him.
You're a stickler for those measurables, huh?
I gotta have those measurables.
2 drops and 108 passes in the last 2 years. What I loved about him doing a little research, this is my favorite little nugget about him. He only played 1 season of high school football.
Oh, they love those guys. Don't forget about Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, when he plays his first season of NFL football, it'll be his 7th season ever playing organized football.
Yeah,
that's high upside. Yeah. That kind of guy.
That's
and you're
really
right. The
good.
Cowboys love guys like that.
Yeah,
they do. They love. There are a few guys on the roster like that.
They haven't even tapped their potential yet. We got them. We got them. Like, what?
Well, the Cowboys do a good job of drafting now. Let's admit that. The Cowboys actually do good. Our problem is
I've eaten crow a lot.
Yeah, like they really do. They're too homegrown, arguably. They do a really good job at drafting where they don't maximize enough of it, in my opinion, is the opportunity to bring in free agents. Yep. They don't take advantage of that enough, and they don't take advantage of trades enough. Yep. But they do a good job of drafting, actually, especially the last few years.
Yeah,
so
they've been around it.
What are your thoughts about a tight end, though? First round pick at tight end. You don't like it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that what the Cowboys do every year, get a tight end? I think there's another need that you would have to go and get because we've talked about this. There's a lot of good tight ends that are going to be coming into the NFL this year.
That's very true.
So, I mean, Dalton Kincaid, yes, he's a talent, but we all know that it can be changed quickly. But you can also go and get another guy that you can probably have for less because that first round is totally different. You want somebody that's going to be able to help move and protect. And that is where I think the Cowboys need to go. I've said cornerback, I've said linebacker, and I've said lineman. Tight end, we can wait on and get to that a little bit later. But if you can get one of those 3 in the first round at number 26, I think that's a value right there. I think that'll be a value for you.
What, one of the tight ends?
No, one of the
running backs.
No,
Who?
one of the linemen.
Okay.
Cornerback
okay.
or
You mean
linebacker.
top 3 at those positions.
Of
Okay.
those. Yeah.
I got you. According to Albert Breer, it looks like Dalton Schultz has already turned down an offer from the Cowboys too. So apparently he's turned down an offer already.
Mm-hmm.
Is what they're saying.
Hey,
This
everybody,
report.
everybody trying to see their worth, right?
Yeah, he says the quote is a quote pretty solid multi-year offer from the Cowboys. Is what Albert Breer says.
Yeah.
So he wants to see.
They
like
want to
you
make
said.
sure they get that out there too.
Yes, they want to
They
make sure.
wanna
Yes,
make
I
sure.
don't even know what that means.
We
a
tried,
pretty
guys.
solid offer.
We
Yeah.
tried. It was solid. It was solid.
It was solid. What does that mean? It was
Exactly.
solid. It's like I don't know what solid means.
But
But I'm
what
with
is your
you.
definition of solid?
I don't know if I'd go tight end in the first round. I mean, think about all the great tight ends in the league. I mean, Travis Kelce's a 3rd-round pick. Kittle, 5th-round pick. Hell, Dalton Schultz was a 4th-round pick.
And I think Jake Ferguson has a chance to do something.
I'm
And
a
I'd
big
rather-
fan of Jake Ferguson.
And
Y'all
that's the
know
thing
that.
is, a lot of people are a fan of Jake Ferguson. So you're basically opting out on the Jake Ferguson experiment already after 1 season, and then you're moving on. But it's just a really cheap way to try and pretend that you're getting Dak weapons, but you're getting him a rookie tight end that's going to take him half a season to
get
kind
up
of
to
get in, to
speed.
get up to speed,
Yeah.
as opposed to going out and signing an actual weapon for Dak. That's all it seems to me is that it's like, yeah, you need a tight end. I mean, you can trade for another one, try and sign one, or you can, play Jake Ferguson. But I think drafting one is just a really cheap way to get out of trying to pay for a weapon for Dak. And that's just, you don't want to cut Zeke, or you don't want to expand on another wide receiver because you think the market's too high right now and you're hoping it'll go back down in a couple of years. You can't expect to win without any weapons. And right now you have an injured Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb.
Patrick, don't use logic when you're talking about the Cowboys, okay?
No, but the Cowboys are doing something. They're making some moves because the reports are the Cowboys have cleared up $30 million in cap space by restructuring Dak Prescott and Zach Martin. Now that seemed like a no-brainer.
We all were talking about that. We knew that was going to happen because the Cowboys, like we've noticed before, they're not very good at keeping secrets. Because remember, we're going to trade Amari, telling everybody. So what did you get? Nothing. You got nothing for him. So I'm looking at this and saying, of course we all knew that you were going to restructure Dak's contract because you want to make it more friendly. Why haven't we heard anything about Ezekiel Elliott's yet?
Well, I think they're waiting on that. He still got, they got time on that. But they should cut.
That should have been the first one because everybody's already on him about that.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to.
I mean, I know they don't care about what we think, but I'm just saying, we all know that is the biggest elephant in the room right now is Zeke's contract.
It is, and right now, they're that's like $11.5 million. I think they could save on the salary cap if they cut Zeke and basically mark him as a June 1st cut, like a post June 1st cut. If they do that, now you're talking about, based on, I think the salary cap figure now, they are $15 million over the salary cap now because they were actually, under the salary cap. They were over the salary cap. And now that $30 million has put them like $15 million under the salary cap. If they cut Zeke, then you're talking about, another $10 to $11 million. And now maybe they could make some big move in free agency for Dak Prescott.
I was with some buddies just a little while ago, and we were talking about this exact thing. And my question is, what is this move that you're about to make? Because we know Cowboy loves bragging about how much space they got, but never go and make a splash type of pickup, right? You pick up certain players, we see it, but none of them came in and were like, whew, I'm so glad we got that dude. I'm so glad we never had that conversation.
Amari Cooper was probably the last splash acquisition.
And you gave up a lot to get him too.
Yeah.
With the first round picks. So now let's see what the next move is going to be. Is this his way of preparing us to say, I'm going to get Dak some help? Who is that going to
There are
be?
rumors about the Cowboys at least at the combine, of them making a move. The DeAndre Hopkins rumor has been out there for a while. Even D-Hop and Des Bryant are hanging out, and he's posting videos on social media I'm not saying that means anything at all. But maybe the Cowboys are right now, arranging things so that either in free agency or via the trade market, if something arises, the Cowboys could make a move. And we all assume it'll be something to help bring out that big Dak energy,
Yeah.
which we need to see more of.
I've seen a few times, but I don't know if it's more of a want or if it's actually been discussed. But I've seen enough times of Kyle Pitts being name being brought up as somebody that hasn't really done a ton in Atlanta that maybe wants a change of scenery. Still on a rookie deal. But you're going to have to go a first to get him probably because they drafted him pretty high. But that's another name you hear of like, hey, that's a splash move if you get him because that's your tight end position then.
Just get Dak some help.
It's somebody.
But you're right. They can't go the young tight end and expect that to be the help.
No.
That's a project. So I'm with you guys. I think that's why they offered, I think, Dalton Schultz. They want to keep Dalton Schultz, and maybe they still will keep Dalton Schultz. The legal tampering period for the NFL, it starts up on Monday, and then I believe free agency starts up Wednesday or something like that, I believe. So we'll start to get a lot more clarity what the Cowboys are going to do. They got a lot of decisions to make. Donovan Wilson's a free agent. Leighton Vander Esch is a free agent. So they got a few guys that they got to make decisions about that are going to be really, really tough. Dalton Schultz, of course, as well. All right, Cowboys also got some good news. They got more draft picks. Cowboys were awarded 3 compensatory picks for 2023. They now have, so it was 2 5th-rounders, by the way, and 1 6th-rounder, 169th and a 176, and then that 6th-rounder, I believe, was 212th. So now the Cowboys have 9 picks overall in the draft, 1 first-rounder, a 2nd-rounder, 3rd-rounder, a 4th-rounder, and then they have 3 5th-rounders now, and a 6th-rounder and a 7th-rounder. So.
Yep.
3 5th-rounders is. I mean, they can package that up too, though, and move up in the draft and be able. And I think the Cowboys will make a trade in the draft somehow. But Cowboys getting some more draft pick. That's a good thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I see another mock draft where another team has been mocked for them, and I think this one is Bucky Brooks, I believe.
I like Bucky Brooks.
They have Dalton Kincaid going to the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, do they have the Cowboys taking a tight end in that one? I mean, just saying that.
No, he actually has them taking a linebacker from Clemson.
Yeah. Okay, just the Cowboys and a tight end in the first round. Not really sure how I feel about that either.
Trenton Simpson from Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never really know how the draft is going to play out, but hell, like I said, if Bijan drops to the Cowboys at 26, draft Bijan.
And we've all seen it where it's been runs too. Like you've seen runs in the draft where you're like, okay, all these positions are starting to go, so then it changes everybody else's draft.
So you are opposed to, I think we're all opposed to tight end for the Cowboys in the first round. Are we opposed to wide receiver for the Cowboys in the first round?
If the right guy's there?
I think I am because I don't like this wide receiver draft that much. It's not that to me, I think it's deep because I think wide receiver is always deep. But I don't like it in terms of the elite talent at the top of it.
Right.
I think you can get a good wide receiver in this draft later on and maybe go through free agency. I don't necessarily like the receiver.
I don't know if any of them are NFL ready either.
It depends on how like I said, it depends on how.
We saw what happened last year when they went out and got Jalen Tolbert. Dude is still trying to figure it out. I think he's an NFL wide receiver. But I think when you get in there and you notice, Rod, them lights get a little bit bright, man, things kind of turn up for you and things change quickly on you. You're like, wait a minute. This is a lot tougher than playing in the Sun Belt. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot that's being thrown at you, routes, combos, making sure schemes, play call. There's so many things that are being thrown at this young man that it might have been overwhelming for him. We still don't know that.
Yeah, it's too early to say that was a disappointing season, but I think they wanted him to contribute right away.
Immediately.
And that definitely did not happen. Yeah, the Cowboys would be really fun to see what they do in the draft and in free agency. I think, honestly, unless it's Bijan drops to him, if Bijan drops to him, take him. But I think the Cowboys may need to address running back either late in the mid-rounds of the draft or go out there and get one in free agency. Turns out it's a really good free agency year for running backs, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, how about it?
Chase Edmonds just got cut, too.
Did he really?
Yeah, he just got released by the Denver Broncos.
I'm assuming they're all going to be cheap. I can't imagine these running backs costing you a lot of money in terms of your draft. So here are the running backs. You got Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Jamal Williams, Deontay Foreman. I'd take Deontay Foreman right if I'm
Cowboys
the
better
Cowboys.
get on that. Yeah.
They should call that guy. I mean, they want a power kind of combination with the speed of of Tony Pollard. Man, he was great last year. He really was.
Yeah.
Deontay, how about this? Deontay Foreman, he had 914 rushing yards in 2022, 5 touchdowns. He had 5 100-yard games in 2021, and I think he made just $2 million last year.
Yeah.
In weeks 7 through 18, he basically had 32 forced missed tackles, 12 explosive runs. I mean, he was good late. Him and Chuba Hubbard, I believe it was, for Carolina.
Yeah.
So he's on the market. Kareem Hunt. Like, I mean, those guys are going to be cheap, I imagine.
Do you think there's going to be much movement in the running back market until the draft, though?
No.
Because it's a
No.
running back heavy draft. I think teams are going to wait, see what they can get in the draft, and then go, all right, we didn't get a guy that we can start next year. Let's go sign somebody. I wouldn't imagine a lot of movement at the beginning here next week in free agency. I think more teams will wait.
I think if you got your guy, just go get him because he's cheap. I mean, they're going to be really cheap in my opinion. And the ones in the draft, I agree with you. It's a deep running back draft, and it's a deep free agent class for running backs too. So my point would be for the Cowboys, either get good value on it because I think you can get good value in the free agent market with those guys because they're going to be an undervalued position, a devalued position.
Yeah.
But also in the draft, hell man, you're talking about Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devin A-Chain. Tank Bigsby,
He put up good numbers at
Kendre Miller,
there's
Tajay
a lot of 'em
Spears,
out there.
that Tulane running back. He's late. He's down on the draft. So I think you can get a good running back late in the draft and get a cheap one on the free agent market if you're the Cowboys. Is my point.
Yeah.
I think you can get both, but you got to cut Zeke because right now you got the most expensive running back room in the history of the NFL.
Come on, can we throw an intervention for Jerry?
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry.
Lock the door.
Jerry, lock the door. We all
the
write
door.
notes about how we love the Cowboys, and you're ruining it because you love Zeke too much.
But they want to run the ball, right? They want to run the ball. Then
That's not the guy to do it.
I know Tony Pollard can't do it either because he's coming off of a serious injury. Zeke ain't the one to do it because Zeke is past his prime. So cut Zeke and then let Tony Pollard rest and go. I think you get a running back late in the draft, and I'd go get a cheap one on the free agent market because they're going to be a bunch of them. And I'd get one of those free agent ones earlier because I think Patrick's right. A lot of teams are going to wait, but you need to get your guy now because that's a priority for you. It ain't a priority for everybody else.
Right.
You don't have a running back really because Zeke ain't a running back. And if you keep Zeke and waste a roster spot, that guy ain't the guy to lead your running game.
No. If you can get Foreman for a good price.
Oh, he made $2 million last year?
Like,
Ooh.
if you get him for a good, just to be like, hey, man, you're our every down back until Pollard comes back
Exactly.
healthy.
Look at the opportunity we're going to get you. Yeah. Until Pollard comes back, you the guy.
Sign a 1-2
Shine.
year deal.
Come on, man. That's easy. I mean, hell, you can go get another one. Or you can go get, Kareem Hunt or Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams would be the one.
Go get Jamal Williams.
Can you imagine him being with the Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, him and Jerry in the same room.
With that,
Oh.
I just love the way you play.
Seriously?
Jerry, I just love being here. I love being
Jamal
here.
has taught me about Yu-Gi-Oh! And more anime.
No, but that guy's a good locker room guy, right?
He's a
good
great locker room guy.
Hey, I'm with you though. I like Jamal Williams a little more than I like Deontay Foreman. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, go get one of those guys cheap. Stay away from Miles Sanders and maybe
No, bring him in anyway.
David. Really?
Bring them in and have a conversation and find out what they do over there in Philadelphia in that run game. And have Dan Quinn interview him.
Have Dan Quinn interview.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can look Cowboys fans straight in the face if they sign Miles Sanders and the Eagles draft Bijan Robinson.
Oh my God!
I don't know if I can look and be like, I think y'all came out behind here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Texas says Cowboys didn't show up to the OBJ workout. Yeah, Odell Beckham Jr. had a workout, and I haven't seen the update on it and what team showed up to it and how it went. But we know the Cowboys have been talking to OBJ for a while. Just hasn't happened. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's been the longest conversation ever.
Hey, man, it really has been. They've been talking for a long. They really had. They've been talking since last season, and I saw another report like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
That the Cowboys and Odell Beckham Jr. were still talking.
They still haven't given off hope.
We didn't even bring it up on the show. I was like, I'm not gonna waste everybody's
you did the
time
right
with
thing.
Groundhog Day of a story. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into the flex on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn.
Mike Harge here, and I want to talk to you about my friends over at Allstat Beer. Allstat Beer is born in Fredericksburg, right in the heart of the Texas Hill Country. They have a beautiful state-of-the-art brewery, and the brewery prides itself on their award-winning German-style beers. The Great American Beer Festival just awarded the Allstat Lager a gold for the second time. They also have an amazing fine dining restaurant and, of course, a tap room where you can try multiple flavors. Plan a tour today and see it for yourself. Great beer, great food, and, of course, with some great friends. On the weekend, the brewery also has live music, so plan a trip today and get some of that great Allstat beer. Go to allstatbeer.com to find a local watering hole where you can enjoy some or where you can pick some up on your way home. Make Allstat your beer of choice. Allstat beer is made with 100% true German ingredients. That means German hops, malts, and yeast, and, of course, the natural Hill Country water. Allstat beer, no impurities, no regrets.
Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a 512 Friday edition of Ball Don't Lie. We play jams from local bands and artists that you can catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Holy Death Trio, and they are playing tonight at Valhalla.
Holy Death Trio.
I'm like, what?
Hey, man, I think you get it.
Yeah, yep.
All right, there you can always catch up with any of the selections from 512 Friday you might have missed. Just go to hornfm.com. Go to flxatx.com. Go to flxatx on all of your social media platforms. They got some great content for you at the FLXATX website. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of superlatives, if you will, from the 25-6A high school basketball realm. You can go check that out. That's up there for you, too. Some season awards, district MVPs, and district standouts, all district teams. That is up there for you. You can go check that out at flxatx.com. You can also go to FLXATX on all of your social media platforms as well. And I know Harge is over there. He's giddy.
So what?
He's got a flex update for you. The greater flex.
Oh,
the greater flex area.
The surrounding area.
Surrounding area.
If you can listen to it, it's in our area. That's what we're going with. If you can hear it in K-Town, I'm shouting it out loud for y'all. Congratulations, Colleen Ellison advanced to the 5A state championship tomorrow against Dallas Kimball.
Well done.
They won against Mansfield Summit, 2-point victory, 52-50. It was a very physical ball game. And as I told you guys throughout this week, the head coach for Mansfield Summit and the head coach from Ellison were on the same high school basketball team, coaching against each other at Ellison High School. So kudos to them. Congratulations to my Ellison Eagles. They play for the championship tomorrow, 3 p.m., San Antonio Alamo Dome. Fly high, Eagles. Fly high, baby.
And who they playing again?
Dallas Kimball.
Dallas Kimball. Huh?
Team that beat them in 1993 to keep them out of the state championship game.
Okay.
So
All
now
right.
they get to avenge that loss now. It only took a little while. It's almost like the Dallas Cowboys trying to get to the Super Bowl. It just took some time.
Hey,
Just kept plugging away.
you know what they always say?
Hey, what?
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Here we go. I want it to be hot up in there tomorrow, though. I know all of K-Town has been texting me about my schedule tomorrow. I'm trying to move some things around. Maybe I'm going to end up in the house in San Antonio.
All right. Oh, yeah, Hard just running all over the place.
And
these
make sure you
days.
watch social media if I am in that house.
There you go. All right. So the greater flex and surrounding areas update from my man Hardball Hodge there. All right, go to flxatx.com. And congratulations to the Ellison Eagles. That is big time, though.
That
That's
is
awesome.
big.
I know
Playing
I'm
for
joking,
any kind of state championship
yeah,
is
hey,
always fun.
I never did it, so
Right.
I admire those guys, man. It's a great accomplishment.
No doubt.
So go out there and finish the damn mission, though.
Let's go.
Finish
It's
the
not
damn
over.
mission. All right. Hey, well, I want an update, too.
Oh, you going to get one.
On Monday.
Oh, you going to get one.
Oh, yeah. Even if they lose, I
Even
want
if
an
they
update.
lose, I'm going to keep it 100.
All right,
you know I do.
Sometimes you come in there, you're going to be quiet on Monday.
I'm gonna be
like,
real quiet
where's
on
the
Monday.
greater Austin and surrounding
What
areas
happened to
flex
that
update?
area?
All right, FLXATX.com, FLXATX on all your social media platforms. Go check it out for yourself. We come back. We're talking about Texas Pro Day results. That's right. And we have audio from the head coach, Steve Sarkisian. We'll get into all. And we got spring football updates, man. We're going deep behind the burnt orange curtain. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a 512 Friday edition of Ball Don't Lie. We play jams that actually from very talented human beings, artists, and bands that you can hear live right here in the ATX. Who are jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Billy King and the Bad, 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 and they're playing tonight at the Far Out Lounge.
I like that. How many bats? 3?
3 bads.
3 bats. Make sure. Got my bats numbered right correctly there.
Bad.
You're real bad when you got that many bats. All right. You can always be a part of the show. Specs Tech Sounds the best way to do it. 512-337-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter. My man Harge is at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. My man Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis. And I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. We got some Texas Pro Day results that we'll discuss. We also have audio from the head coach, Steve Sarkisian, from the media availability today after the 3rd spring football practice for Texas football. So we'll hear from the head coach a little bit as well. And we'll also give you some spring football updates. There are a couple of spring football updates out there that we'll go through a little bit as well. So we got a couple of things, or a few things that we'll hit here going behind the burnt orange curtain. Let's talk about the Pro Day first. We discussed a few of these results yesterday as they were coming out, but now we have basically a lot more official results, if you will. None of these are official. They're kind of unofficially official, but from the different sites. And I got these from Inside Texas and my man Joe Cook, so shout out to him. He had a write-up over there at Inside Texas, so I advise you to go check it out. The participants in the Pro Day, just really quickly, were Jaleel Billingsley, Keandre Coburn, Anthony Cook, Deshaun Jameson, Roshan Johnson, Tariq Milton, Moro Ojimo, Demarion Overshown, Bijan Robinson, and Daniel Trejo were the participants at the the Texas Pro Day. Jaleel Billingsley, Harge, really turned some heads. 36-inch vertical, 9'9" broad jump, and a 40-yard dash, one in the low 4.5s with a 4.52 and another one at 4.6. At 6'4", 220, like I said, and his film, I mean, he's got a very small sample size from Bama and from Texas, but hell, man, Texas and Bama wanted this guy. So that tells you right there that he's got a high upside and he's got a lot of potential. I think just the numbers alone and the size, somebody may try to bring him into a camp, but he's got to put on some weight. Like, he's a little light.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
For a tight end?
Yeah, but I think once he gets into a camp like that, he's one of those projects that we can look at and say, okay, because remember, the Dallas Cowboys took Rico Gathers off of the basketball court.
They did.
And kept him in their organization for like 5 years. And then I think he ended up going and playing for the Arizona Cardinals or something like that. He got an opportunity to play. So I look at Billingsley, who's somebody who is very athletic. You can look at him and tell, which is the reason why everybody decided he went to Alabama and he went to Texas. Dude has to have some skills.
Yeah, he got some skills.
So that is something, too, that these guys are looking at. Probably talk to Coach Saban about him, what ended up happening, why did he end up transferring. Remember, he sat out a little bit because of a suspension when he first got here for something that happened.
NCAA issue.
Yeah. So there's some other things that kind of hindered his opportunities on the field. But if you look at him and just look at the raw numbers, yeah, he can do some things.
I know Texas really missed out on an opportunity with him. Kind of what Isaiah Nayor meant to the wide receiving room and how it really set the wide receiving room back, because he was going to fulfill a role of being the deep target for Sark in that offense that needs someone to take the top off the defense. Well, when he got hurt, instead, X-Man had to take over that role, and instead of X-Man just being the number one wide receiver and somebody that you could just feature, he was forced to fill a role of being the deep target, also being the deep man, taking top off defense, but also trying to be the number one wide receiver, and it was just too much on his shoulders, and we know it caused a regression for him. I think that also happened with the tight end room. I think Sark wanted that tight end, the 12 personnel grouping, to be a more lethal passing personnel package. And nothing against Gunnar Helm, but I think his vision was J.T. Sanders and Jaleel Billingsley in my 12 personnel package, and he was going to really count on the development of Jaleel Billingsley as a blocker because he wasn't a great blocker. J.T. Sanders actually has developed into a good blocker, but Jeff Banks, damn good coach. I think if he had access to Jaleel Billingsley all season, which he didn't, maybe that would have changed. But we know Sark loves 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, runs it 40% of the time. Last year that was the case, and this year. Some people was like, oh man, Sark saw that the regression of X-Man that caused him to play more 12 personnel. No, it didn't. That's not true. That's not real. Last year he did the same thing. Last year he played 12 personnel around 40% of the time, and this year he played 12 personnel around the same percentage if you include the Big 12. If you include the package with the sixth offensive lineman. So he just likes to play two tight ends. I think he would have played more original 12 personnel if Jaleel Billingsley had been available and if he, wasn't such a just disappointment. That's the way to say it.
Right.
He also ended up, I think a 4.57 is another 40 time that had him clocked. I think my man Wes Scott Eberts had him at that. So Jaleel Billingsley actually looked really good there. Moving on, some other guys at the NFL Pro Day for Texas. Keandre Coburn, he did the shuttle because he didn't do the shuttle at the combine. So most of all of his other combine numbers he kept, but he did run a 4.77 shuttle. So, and as I said, Keandre Coburn, he doesn't need to really prove anything. All of his numbers will be fine. His film says enough.
Yep.
Keandre Coburn, every team needs a Coburn now. I've talked about this. When teams want to run more power and gap schemes, which is their counter when everybody is built around defending the inside and the outside zone, so the defenses that can run sideline to sideline defenders, well, they want to run more power schemes and run right at you and just run the ball down your throat to try to counter all these really fast, undersized defenses. Keandre Coburn is somebody you're going to need to pull in the field. Remember, the Cowboys did it this year. They need to do it with Jonathan Hankins, traded for one. The Eagles had to do it with Linval Joseph and also Ndamukong Suh, so they went and got two of them when their Jordan Davis went down.
Right.
Everybody needs one. So Keandre Coburn's got a home. Yeah, we just don't know where it is yet.
Right.
Every team needs about one or two of those guys.
Remember what they did with Malcolm Roach when he got his opportunity to do it in the NFL with the New Orleans Saints. He's made a living with it. Poona Ford has made a living with it.
Poona's another one.
You're going to get an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, everybody needs one. Every team needs one or two of those guys, and you don't want an expensive one because they wear down really easy. I mean, basically their job is to clog up gaps and eat up double teams. That's not something that is going to age well. So you want to get younger guys that can do that. Keandre Coburn, and added value is he also can rush the passer a little bit.
Yeah, he can.
He proved that this year.
Yeah, he did.
The man can rush the passer a little bit. So that's why I think don't worry about Keandre Coburn. Don't worry about his numbers. Like I said, he's a plunger. Every house needs one, and it's for the dirty work. It's for the dirty job. But when you need a plunger and you don't have one, man, your life becomes a living hell. All right, that's when the fit hits the shan when you don't have one. It literally. That's the Keandre Coburn and those run stopping D tackles. You may not need them a lot this day and age, but man, when you really need one, ask the Eagles, ask the Cowboys. The fit hits the shan. You need a Coburn.
No doubt.
Anthony Cook. Anthony Cook was more impressive than I thought. I didn't like his 40 times. 40 times unofficially 4.59, 4.65. I didn't love that. That's not. Listen, the safety position this year is slow. Everywhere.
Yep.
Like it's not Anthony Cook. It's slow everywhere. So I guess that helps Anthony Cook. The fact that if you look at all the safety times at the combine, I remember going through them. They all were pretty slow. There wasn't a fast safety this year.
Right.
So I think that helps out Anthony Cook. They all were in the kind of the mid 4.5s and around low 4.5s.
They're all looking around like, man, what happened to the fast safeties?
They really weren't. I'm not saying they weren't good ones.
Yeah,
but there weren't any fast safeties really. His broad jump 10 foot 5 inches. That's pretty good.
Yep.
34-inch vertical. Pretty good. And I like his shuttle. 4.27.
It means he can change direction really quick, guys. That's what that means. So
exactly what that means.
I'm down with that for sure.
Yeah, and NFL scouts like that too. The fact that he's proven that this is a guy that can change direction really easily for you. So I think that actually that agility drill, him running that that type of time, that 4.27, 4.29, whatever he ran the pro agility drill, that actually shows you that a guy, not only can he play multiple positions, which I think is going to be his biggest asset going into the NFL. The fact that he's played corner and he's played safety, that'll go a long way in the NFL, that he can play and manufacture depth for you and play multiple positions. So he'll get on a camp list, I guarantee, and get invited to a camp. Him making a roster, it depends on the fit, man. But all these guys have a better chance of making a roster because the practice squads have been expanded.
Yep.
And you can play on the practice squad longer. So as Harsh mentioned, they can really develop you on the practice squad now. And they got the XFL.
Yep. There's football all over the place.
It's football.
Now.
So these guys, they should be able to play professionally.
Yep.
Even if it's not their dream of playing in the NFL. Deshaun Jameson. What are your thoughts about Deshaun Jameson? He ran the fastest, 4.48 and a 4.55.
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody that I've thought can we say he underperformed or was underutilized? I don't know, but I think his money is going to be made in special teams. He's always been good on the special teams part, whether he's returning punts or kicks, because he's got deceptive speed on the outside. When he gets the ball and he's running those kicks back, he's a different type of player. And I think he might be able to go into the NFL. I guess the question for me would be, how do you feel about his hip turn?
Oh, I like his hips.
So then
I love
there's it right there.
Deshaun
So
Jameson's
he can be in the slot.
Yeah, no, he can.
Yeah,
I actually believe that. He does
Yeah.
really nice hips. The thing about Deshaun Jameson that hurts him, he's better playing off coverage.
Yep.
He's better when he can almost triangulate, quarterback, receiver, and number two receiver, number one, number two receiver. He's really good being able to just read route progressions, almost feel route progressions really well. And he's got a good jump. Once he sees it, got a great jump on the ball, and he's got hands for days. He's got great hands, like a receiver. As a matter of fact, remember Tom Herman thought about playing him at receiver actually at one time because he's so good. And we know he's a great special teams guy too. So for me, I think Deshaun Jameson's got a shot at, I don't know if he's going to make a week one roster, but he's got a chance of making an NFL team, either on a practice squad or later on during the season, just because of his special teams play. He can return.
Yeah, I'm
punts
with you
and
on that.
kickoffs.
Yes, very. And
like you said, he's elite.
He can
he's
take
got
it to the
elite
house.
skill there. Like some team may just keep him around just for that because he does have elite skill. But I do think as a defensive back, I don't like his technique at the line of scrimmage, being able to play bump and run. So in the slot, I like his hips, but I don't like his
physicality,
inability to play through contact.
Yep.
Right? I think he needs to be better playing through contact as a DB. That's why they backed him up and played him at the field corner. Right? Just let him read routes. That's what he's really good at.
So let me ask you this: when you think about him, who would be your comp from the University of Texas that is playing in the league or has played into the league, where you think he would be able to fit in that type of environment?
That's good, man. I haven't.
Because my special teams would be Chris Boyd. Because Chris Boyd is a special teams savant when it comes to playing on special teams. On the defensive side.
Covering kicks.
Covering down, and punts. And punts. He's
Yeah.
down there making plays and keeping the ball in play. I'm just curious to where you would think he was at.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a comp for Deshaun Jameson in terms of his defensive back skill. Not from Texas. I don't know if I have a comp for him.
Yeah.
I can go think about it, but he's one of those guys, like I said, it's weird to have a guy who's got good hips, and he's got obviously sufficient speed, ran in the mid to high 4.4s, got good hips. I don't like his hand placement.
Yeah.
And I mean that even at the line of scrimmage, but also once the route progresses and develops downfield, he also is not really good. And he was much better this year, though. Much better this year.
Yeah.
And what I was talking, having a panic plan when the ball's in the air. Right?
Yeah.
What's your plan of attack? Are you reading the eyes? Are you playing through the hands? Are you going to look and lean? Are you going to feel the receiver, see the ball? Are you going to see the receiver and play through him? Like, what are you playing with your in phase, out of phase? And at times, it seems like he didn't really figure out exactly what his technique was going to be all in those panic situations.
Right.
This year, he was much better. Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually like what I saw from this year, him playing the football while it's in the air. Tariq Milton. 9 foot 10 inch broad jump, 4.55, 4.53, 40-yard dash, and 34.5 inch vertical.
He's another one we didn't get a chance to really see what he's capable of doing, and That's another year that he lost on film. He lost some time on film, so we don't know exactly what it was.
Coming from Iowa State. Yeah, I agree. They thought basically he was going to have a chance. He was an insurance policy, I think, behind Jay Witt.
Yeah.
Like, because they didn't know what Jordan was. So they brought in an insurance policy. Like, we need somebody that can play the slot. Jay Witt stayed healthy all year long. We saw him make a couple of plays, but they didn't use him that much,
Right.
which is surprising considering because no third wide receiver really stepped up.
Right.
And he could have had a chance to take that spot and fill that void, but it never really happened. Roschon Johnson was at the Combine as well, and he stood on all of his testing times at the Combine. He didn't do anything. He went through drills, but he didn't do any testing. And I was told, basically, advised by his agent not to run.
Correct.
So I'm not surprised by that. Agent probably thought he would have hurt himself. Not hurt himself, but hurt his draft stock at the time. So and I don't think his style of running, I don't think NFL scouts need to see him run a fast time. He's going to be known as more of a power back. And not just a short yardage back, but he'll be a guy they want to run more in between the tackles.
Yeah.
With Rojo is exceptional. I think, like I said, Cowboys, Texans, everybody would be lucky to have a guy like Rojo.
Whoever gets him is going to be very happy.
Honestly, I can't find a team that's a bad fit for Rojo.
Right. Right.
Like I'm serious, I can't think of a team in the NFL that's like, oh, that's a bad fit for Rojo. There's no bad fit for Rojo.
Yeah, no doubt.
Really, and high upside player, and only been playing running back for like 3 years. Moro Ojomo stood on all of his testing except he did the shuttle, and he ran a 4.58 shuttle. This dude, honestly, if you could pick who's the one player you believe is going to be drafted right after Bijan from the Longhorns, who is it? Because Ojomo's got a shot.
I think either Ojomo because of what he did at the Combine, or Demo, Agent Zero.
Man,
Marvin Overshawn.
Honestly, I think, I'm with you. I think it's him or Demo, but, man, the more I see about Ojomo, I think somebody might try to sneak up and get Ojomo.
Right.
He's really young. Been here for, 5 years and only 21 years old?
Just turned it.
Turned it.
You know what I'm saying? That to me is the most amazing part about it.
He's a baby
Kid
still.
is still young.
He was for D tackles at the Combine, top 5 in bench, broad jump, vertical jump, and 10-yard split.
Yep.
He also, now with this shuttle, that 4.56 shuttle, that's also a damn good time. I compare it to other D tackles, but I guarantee you it's toward the top. That's just a really good time. And he measured into 6'3", 293.
Oh, yeah.
Plays D tackle and D end. Plays multiple shades.
And very, very intelligent football player.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even talking about his academic prowess. I'm talking his mindset of what his job is. So when the coach comes in and the defensive coordinator's drawing on the chalkboard, he's going to know, or the whiteboard, he's going to know exactly what he's talking about. And he's going to be able to adjust because he processes information very quick.
No, you're right about it, man. I'm telling you. Watch out for more Ojomo.
I like it.
He's flying up draft boards. I take a flyer that some team may decide they really like his film and they could take a chance on him. I think DeMarvion Overshown's still likely to be drafted not right behind Bijan, but the Longhorn that's drafted after Bijan. Don't be shocked if it's Ojomo and going, what, that's Ojomo? Yeah, it's Ojomo.
Hey, most importantly, be excited because of the fact that'll be a defensive lineman that is drafted from the University of Texas.
Pretty high.
That means it's starting to turn.
Yeah.
That's it.
Some people are talking about day 2 D tackle.
Yeah.
For Ojomo now. Good for that young man, making himself some money.
Outstanding.
DeMarvion Overshown stood on most of his testing from the Combine, did do a vertical jump, 36.5 inches, so that's pretty damn good, showing explosion, and a broad jump of 10 feet, 6 inches, and he did do drills I think he measured in at 231 pounds, so that's pretty good. So he gained some weight.
Yeah.
Through the Combine process.
It's like a fighter.
Pounds.
It's like a fighter. You go in there and cut weight for the weigh-in, and then all of a sudden, as soon as you walk out there and drink some water, you go up 20 pounds.
Yeah. All these guys wanted to be light when they ran the 40.
Yep. Now it's like, let's put the weight back on.
Now they want to put some weight back on. Yeah. And DeMarvion Overshown looks really good. Like I said, in the right system. And in Dan Quinn's system and his philosophy of positionless football, DeMarvion Overshown would be a perfect defender, but it doesn't really matter. As long as he goes to the right system that has a vision for how to utilize DeMarvion Overshown, he's a bit of a project. You got to put some weight on him, get the play strength. He only had, I think, 15 reps on the bench? Something like that, 15 reps on the bench. play strength, playing through, being
That's
able to
the
play through
biggest part.
contact,
Yeah.
and be able to shed blocks. That's stuff you can learn in the league. But all of the raw materials he's got, and he can flat out run at linebacker.
Right.
So that's good news for DeMarvin Overshown. I think his draft stock is safe because I don't think he hurt himself at all throughout the combine process, and that's half the battle.
Right.
You can lose this process, or you
Right.
can win this process. And I'm not Moro Ojabo. He's won the process. DeMarvin Overshown, I'm not sure he won it, but he didn't lose it.
Correct.
If you lose it, oh man, then the draft stock plummets.
Yeah. And that's why, not saying that would have happened to Rojo, but that's why his agent was like, nah, man, you good at where you're at.
Yeah.
Don't go in there. You got a decent number. Let's just stay with what you got. Go do all the drills. You don't have to go run the 40 anymore.
Yeah,
You've done
because
enough.
You said it. Yeah, you said it when the time came out. You was like, man, I can't remember Rojo, being caught very often, or his speed becoming an issue.
Right.
And you're right about that. Like it's not an issue. That's why his agent was like, no, you're good. Agents I've talked to, the scouts I've talked to, they're not concerned with it.
Right.
Like it's not a big. If it was an issue, I'd be like, you got to run, you got to put one down there. But if you go out there and run a 4.75,
Right.
and they go, damn.
Yeah, that's
Then-
what they're like.
Then your draft stock, plummets, and then
Right.
you're in trouble.
And a lot of times, too, I mean, there's no more official time that you can run than the one you ran at the combine.
No, that's the official.
You know what I'm saying? That's the AccuTrack, as
That's
they
the
used to
official.
say
Yeah.
on the track
Yeah.
meet. So
You're right about
I'm
that.
with you.
So those are how the guys performed at Pro Day. I do think Deshaun Jameson and Jaleel Billingsley might help themselves out a lot. I'm hoping Anthony Cook, though, can just make it to a camp. He's a ball player. He can play
Yeah.
ball, and he's going to show up well when pads are on and when he can go out there into a camp. A lot of guys, obviously, the underwear Olympics that has become the combine process and the Pro Day process, they don't really shine during that time. All right, we got to talk Cowboys again on the other side. Lots of Cowboys news, notes, and nuggets to hit. We'll talk about the mock draft, all predicting the same thing for the Dallas Cowboys. The Texans have been docked a draft pick. We'll talk about why that is the case. And the Cowboys cleared cap space, and everybody trying to figure out why. All of that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friends over at MyBookie, because a lot of you out there, you may be looking for a place to place your bets and looking for somewhere where you can get the most bang for your buck. And trust me, folks, that's my friends over at MyBookie. With MyBookie, you're making money before you even place your first bet. And right now, it's the perfect time to do it. Make your basketball bracket a moneymaker with MyBookie. Getting started is easy. Visit MyBookie online. Use the promo code HORN, HORN, to receive a deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's HORN, HORN. Grab your extra funds now, and for a limited time, claim a free entry into the $150,000 MyBookie Madness Bracket contest for a chance at big money. We're talking about straight cash, homie, folks. If you're the type of guy or gal who likes to fill out multiple brackets to get an advantage, you can do that too. The price of entry is less than an Uber ride, all for the shot at life-changing money. We're talking about a life-changing amount of straight cash, homie. So with so many brands to choose from, right now you need a platform that makes it simple to bet and easy to use and easy to win, like MyBookie. Visit MyBookie online. Use the promo code HORN, HORN, to receive a deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's HORN, HORN. Bet anything, bet anytime, and bet anywhere. As long as you're betting with my friends at MyBookie, you're betting with the best. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a 512 Friday. We play jams from very talented human beings, artists and bands that you can listen to live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Jeff Plankenhorn, and he is playing Saturday at the Saxon Pub.
I know exactly where that is. I feel cool. All right, Saxon Pub. There you go. If you missed any of these suggestions for 512 Friday, please go check out hornfm.com. And my man Patrick always posts them up there for you on the webpage in case you missed it. We got to talk some Cowboys here because we're talking about the Cowboys combine interviews and what they mean for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll also get into the mock drafts, which strangely enough, it's creepy. I don't know what's going on. Maybe all the top mock drafts are now all, communicating with each other. So maybe they're mocking the same thing, but it's freaky what's going on in the mock drafts. We'll get to that and talk about that with the Cowboys. And we'll also talk about the Cowboys clearing up cap space, which is a big move for them. So first, let's get into the mock drafts. It is mock season, of course. Dane Brugler is one of the best, best draft analyst for The Athletic. He puts out his mock draft, puts out about 3 or 4 of them per offseason. And the latest is the post-combine mock draft. Todd McShay did the same thing, and Mel Kiper did the same thing. They always have their post-combine mock draft. They hang out at the combine. They hear a lot of stuff at the combine, right? A lot of people talking at the combine, a lot of deals being made. It's a football convention. Coaches there, GMs there. They're colluding against Lamar Jackson at the combine. I'm joking, but half joking. But all that stuff's happening at the combine, right? So this is what's going on. Dane Brugler, now Todd McShay, and Mel Kiper. All 3 have the Cowboys not only taking the same position in the first round, which is tight end, but also taking the same player, Patrick. Taking Dalton Kincaid, the Utah tight end, which I'm not saying he's not a good player. He's a good player. 6'4", 246. I mean, he's really good. He's one of the top tight end prospects in this draft. Only been playing football for 6 years. He played his first season of organized football in high school, I believe, he was like a junior. And then San Diego offered him after 1 year playing high school football, and then he transferred to Utah. So he's on his first year in the NFL will be his 7th season playing football ever, period. Organized football. So he's got a lot of upside, ton of upside. He's undersized for the position, but they knew that they need a tight end. Ironically, I did read that Dalton Schultz, according to Albert Breer, did turn down an offer from the Cowboys. It was he said a solid offer. I don't even know what that means. I have no idea what solid is.
I don't know. I do, but I did just see some breaking news.
Give it to me. Is it breaking bad or breaking good?
If you're a Texans fan, not good.
Oh, damn it.
Apparently, the Carolina Panthers have traded up for the number 1 pick in the draft.
I knew it. I knew somebody was going to do that. Damn it, Texans. It was going to be the Colts or somebody, but I'm surprised it was Carolina, actually.
DJ Moore is going to be involved in that trade as well. So DJ Moore will go into the Bears, give Justin Fields another weapon, and I'm sure picks as well. It's the number 9 pick, number 61 pick, a first-round pick in 2024, a second-round pick in 2025, and DJ Moore.
So 2 firsts and 2 seconds?
2 firsts and 2 seconds,
so
and a player.
And a starter.
And a starter, yes.
A starting player.
They needed
like a starting
receiver. And they will be taking quarterback, you have to assume.
Well, they'll have their pick, too.
Frank Reich gets his quarterback.
Yeah, they'll pick whatever quarterback they finally. And when we said, what was Frank Reich's biggest issue? The one thing that had ultimately haunted his tenure there with the Colts was the fact that he couldn't settle on a quarterback. He had a different starting quarterback every year that he was there. Every year that Frank Reich was with the Colts, he had a different starting quarterback. And I always say that quarterback, it means something different for everybody. It means something different to the fans, to the owner, to the GM. It means something different to the players. What I think the quarterback position means to a head coach is job stability. It really is. Like, that's job security. If a coach is on a hot seat, there's an 85 to 90% chance there's quarterback instability with that franchise or with that program. And Frank Reich, he was always on the hot seat because nobody ever knew what the hell was going on with quarterback. So they went through Phillip Rivers, and they went through Matt Ryan and Jacoby Brissett, and they went through Carson Wentz. And he never learned his lesson. Well, he did. Now he has learned his lesson. And the lesson is, go get you a quarterback.
Yeah. Now the question is, I have to look through Frank Reich's quarterbacks and who he seems to like to pick. If he's going to go Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, or Will Levis, you assume it's Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. But you never know. These quarterback guru guys, they do love to take them a project.
Yeah, they like projects. And I would say there's been a lot of talk about the Anthony Richardson thing. Frank Reich can't do that. You got to go with somebody a little bit more polished.
That also doesn't seem like a Frank Reich pick.
You can't don't do anything that crazy. I do like project. To me, he's a perfect pick for like Seattle.
Yeah.
With Geno Smith, they're locked in for 3 years. It's probably more like 2 years, but still locked in for 3 years, that contract.
Yeah.
That's a project you can afford to take because you first of all, you had one of the best rookie classes in the NFL, actually in the NFL in the last 4 or 5 years. Your rookie class was amazing. You hit on so many picks, and you have a boatload of picks. You have an embarrassment of riches of draft capital you got in the Russell Wilson trade, and you found, luckily, you stumbled upon it, your quarterback for the foreseeable future. That's your bridge. If anybody should go get Anthony Richardson and give it 2 years to work, it's them.
Well, and
they
also,
can afford to do it.
And also, as long as you have Pete Carroll as coach, he made Russell Wilson work. And Russell Wilson is one of the biggest rushing quarterbacks of the last, 2 decades.
That's a great point, too. Yeah,
so,
he knows how to make it work, like, structurally.
Yes.
The balance of the defense, offense, all that. That's a great point.
So,
there.
yeah, I like that. I like that situation for him. But, someone will draft him with no plan what to do with him. Put him into play day one.
Right. That's exactly what. Unfortunately for Anthony Richardson, somebody with no plan or vision for how to use him will draft him. But let's get to how this affects the Texans, because this is what I was worried about this. Now, let's talk about the deal first. Could the Texans have made this deal?
Well, so it's Brandon Cooks instead of, and so you say Brandon Cooks, we take the money. Texans pay as much of the salary as possible, and they send over Brandon Cooks.
So you said that would have taken the place of DJ Moore. So now we're going to the draft capital that they gave up. So essentially, they swapped first-round picks and then gave up a first-round pick.
Yeah, Texans could have easily done that.
Because they got 2 first-round picks in each of the next 2 drafts.
Yes. So you give them number 2, which is better than number 9.
And you could have. Texans could have swung off this deal.
Yeah, and you trade Brandon Cooks in the deal, which you wanted to get rid of anyway. You just have to take on more of his salary.
It's only a bet, and this is the only thing I can think of why the Texans did not have more urgency to move up to number 1. I think they should have done it. I would have did, especially when you had the draft capital to do it. They should have did it, especially since they had it within their power to be able to get the number 1 overall pick. Except instead of losing that last game to the Colts, they found a way to win that game, and ultimately, this is the result of it. This is the Texans doing what the Texans do, and I thought they should have did their best to try to cover up the sins of the season, if you will, and not getting the number 1 overall pick, to just move up with the draft capital. So they didn't do that. So now we'll see if the football gods will be so kind as to have them get the quarterback that they want, and maybe they have decided we're cool with either one of these quarterbacks, Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or Will Levis. Who knows? He might be in that conversation too.
When it's a quarterback guru coach, like Frank Reich is, a guy who he thought he could fix Matt Ryan and make him a guy. He thought he could fix Carson Wentz. He thought he could get all these guys that weren't playing at their top level and make them a top quarterback. Will Levis is the guy that if you said, hey, he's got the body, he's got the biggest arm.
Man, I'd like C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young over Will Levis.
No, I would too. I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me, though.
Oh, no, it would. No, nothing would surprise me.
And now, if you're Matt Corral.
Nothing would surprise me.
If you're Matt Corral sitting.
Matt Corral's going to be the backup quarterback now.
And now he's like, well, great, I got hurt my rookie season, and then they drafted the number 1 overall pick my second season. Cool. Fun.
It's, you know what? But I do understand, because if you're Frank Reich, you can't afford to put all your eggs in the basket of a Matt Corral, who's not really considered, to be a high-level quarterback. You got to put your eggs in the basket of someone who's at least going to be a high-level quarterback. And it just shows you the Carolina Panthers, man, their ownership has been aggressive. They really have been. They were aggressive with the Matt Rule thing. They thought Matt Rule was going to be, Chuck Noll of the present day Chuck Noll. That didn't work out. And then after that, another aggressive move this offseason, which is moving all the way up to the number 1 overall pick, and they'll have their pick of the top quarterbacks in the draft. They're definitely going to get their quarterback of the future. I like the move for Carolina. It's a great move.
I do. This
a great
scares
move by
me
them.
way more about the Texans now.
Oh, no.
Signing Jimmy Garoppolo, drafting all defense in the first round.
They're definitely going to reach out to Jimmy Garoppolo, and I have no problem with that, by the way.
But
I'm not opposed to Jimmy Garoppolo.
I can see them
move.
not taking a quarterback here and just saying Jimmy Garoppolo is our quarterback of the future.
That would be a mistake.
I agree.
If they decide to skip, I'm not opposed to them skipping out on this quarterback class. I'm not, because the next
Okay.
year's quarterback class is really good.
But you're
But-
hoping to not have a top 10 pick next year, right? If you
Uh,
sign Jimmy
yeah, they're
Garoppolo,
going to be pretty bad next year, though. They're going to be pretty bad.
and you're going to,
They'll still be pretty bad. Because
yeah.
Jacksonville will be better in that division alone.
Yeah.
The Colts might end up being better than them now, too.
Yeah.
I mean, the Colts weren't supposed to be that bad.
They
they
were not.
fell off at quarterback so bad, but the supporting cast is pretty damn good
Jonathan
for the
Taylor's
Colts.
still there. Mike
Yeah.
Pittman Jr. is still there.
They got some guys.
That
man, on
defense
that
was
team.
really good.
The defense was really good, and I don't know what to think of Tennessee. Nobody does. I mean,
Well, if they trade Derrick Henry,
yeah, I don't know what's
then
going on with
what is their
Tennessee.
offense?
But to your point about the Texans passing on a quarterback in this draft, the only way you can possibly justify it is you're gonna bundle up a lot of draft picks and move up in next year's draft to go get
Okay.
your guy, and you think the quarterback class next year
Is
is
better.
a better quarterback class with
Okay.
May and what's the quarterback from USC, Caleb
Williams.
Williams. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You like those guys better, and I'm sure there's a 2 or 3 that I'm missing as well.
Yeah.
But that's the only way to justify it. Other than that, yeah, I'm scared now. I'm not going to
Because,
lie.
and I can tell you by Texans ways of Nick Caserio, who drafted Nick Caserio, who is on the staff who drafted Nick Caserio, and who has coached him most recently. Bobby Slowick, Nick Caserio, Jimmy G.
Oh no, they like the Jimmy G thing. Bobby Slowick was asked about it himself at his introductory press conference with the media, and he name dropped Jimmy Garoppolo,
Well, yeah. And
which
then,
is rare.
but that's what I'm saying. And then you throw in the fact that Caserio was on the Patriots when they drafted him.
oh yeah, no, they're bringing
it
in
seems
Jimmy
like
G.
that's who they're going to go after.
Yeah, but I don't want them, and I don't think they will, make him their quarterback of the future. He's your stopgap quarterback. Either when you drop the quarterback this year, allows you to let that quarterback sit, not too much pressure on them. You can allow them a year to develop, a year to really, really kind of learn how to be a professional in the league. Or if they skip this year's draft and decide to get the quarterback in next year's draft, Jimmy G is your quarterback for the foreseeable future. So either way, I got no problem with them bringing in Jimmy G. Yeah, here's the quote from Bobby Slowick when asked about the quarterbacks for the Texans. He said, quote, "We have a process that we go through. Jimmy is obviously a part of that. Jimmy is obviously a part of that process. So he's a part of the process. And all they got on the as a quarterback right now is on the roster is Davis Mills.
Yeah. I mean, and the other guy who's going to be in the hunt for that would probably be the Raiders. The Raiders will be in the hunt for Jimmy G as well.
That makes sense.
Because Josh McDaniels, if he's looking for a quarterback, that is a guy they're definitely going to have to look at as well.
Yeah, I think the Texans made another miscalculation here. I think you should have just moved up and gotten that pick.
Yeah.
I think they should have acted quickly, and I don't know if it was, like I said, I don't know if they liked all the quarterbacks or multiple quarterbacks, and they figured, hey, doesn't matter. Whichever one drops to us, we're going to be fine.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate that too.
Oh, that sounds so much worse. They're just like, we'll just take the mystery box and put our hand in the box and grab a quarterback. You're like, well, then you're not even pretending to evaluate quarterbacks.
I think they
you have a
are-
guy that you like. Oh,
That's what I'm saying. In my opinion, I'm with you. Do due diligence. Go deep down the rabbit hole of both of these quarterbacks and find one that you like. Not one you like, one you love, and then say, all right, this is our guy. We're gonna go get that quarterback. This to me says they're cool with either quarterback.
yeah. This to me,
This says I'm fine with either one.
this tells me they're going defense. This is it's very Texans to go defense.
Wow.
And they go, we'll get the best defensive player in the draft. Our number one guy.
Okay.
We'll get an edge rusher or somebody like that. That's Texans' way of doing business for years and years.
It would not be, like I said, it would not be totally surprising because I said next year's draft, there's been talk. There have been whispers in Houston that they like next year's group of quarterbacks more. And that they may decide to go after that group. And maybe in their research, their evaluation, maybe they're deciding, yeah, we do have a lot of draft capital, and we're going to use it to move up in next year's draft.
Hey, we saw it. The Panthers did not have a ton of draft capital and were able to move up to the number 1 pick from the number 9.
Yeah, and you can
So it is possible.
and you can stockpile draft capital for next year's draft with this draft capital from this year's draft. All you got to do is, you make some moves, trade some pieces, and get teams draft capital for next year. And then you can have a ton of draft capital for next year, and then you can bundle all that up together and make some team an offer they can't refuse for the number 1 overall pick. And maybe you're that bad. Maybe they're banking on, we're going to be so damn bad next year too that we're also going to be in the running for the number 1 overall pick.
Don't be Houston.
We're not
going to
need draft
so
capital.
many years in a row, Houston.
The Rockets are doing it.
I know, and I hate it.
The Astros did it. They're all taking the Astros model. The Astros tanked for like 3 years. They was like, that's too much. And then it turns out, go Stros.
Go Stros.
So
yeah, it is. Oof.
I think it's a risk. It's a risk for
you
them.
You can do it like the 76ers. And how many championships have the 76ers won so far?
Trust the process.
Trust the process. They're still believe it, a 0 finals played in.
Oh, okay. You're a former Texans fan, no longer.
I know, but I'm watching from the corner just.
I thought we may be able to win you back. If they go defense, if they prioritize defense in this draft, are you gonna think about becoming a Texans fan again or coming back to the fold?
It's going to be harder. It's going to be real hard to go in with Jimmy G. It's gonna have to be what they do throughout the draft and free agency.
I'll tell you why I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not saying I like it. But you have already put a significant amount of draft capital into the defensive secondary. And Jalen Petrie is one of the best safeties in the NFL already as a rookie.
Yeah.
Like he's already probably I'm not joking. He's probably a top 12 to 15 safety as a rookie already.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not good. No, it's really good. I mean, I think he's already in that conversation. Derek Stingley, if he works out, I know Patrick's gonna make you feel bad. He'd be like, you should have got Sauce Gardner.
You should have.
You should have.
No, but Stingley, if he progresses, if he progresses into the next year, he was fine this year. He wasn't great, but he was. You progress in that. You get some more guys around him that helps out. The more guys you put on defense, you get a better pass rush. That helps out Stingley a lot, too.
Yeah, so I could see them saying, all right, last year we got our building blocks in the secondary. This year, let's go off the building blocks in the front 7. Let's go after edge rusher or war daddy on the D-line. Let's get us a difference maker potentially at, inside linebacker that can be, building block for years to come. I could see them doing that.
Who could be the next D'Amico Ryans?
Well, yeah, exactly. But maybe because D'Amico Ryans the defender saying, no, let's build the defense first, and then we can build the offense. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I could see that vision.
And if you're talking Patriots and 49ers model, that, hey, let's load up on D-line for the 49ers, and, hey, Bill Belichick loves to draft defense and keep a cheaper defense because they're younger, that plays into it.
It does. The 49er model, you're right. The 49er model, I will say, is unique because of this. And maybe you're right. He's trying to copy that model. But the reason it's tough to replicate, because Shano's run game really is kind of a discount saver, if you will, for the salary cap, because you don't necessarily need. Now, he did get Christian McCaffrey, but for years, they never needed a big-time, high-priced running back or a highly drafted running back to work in that system. They've always just had kind of a cheap guy, so that's worked out well, and they've been able to invest more on defense. That's why if you look at the San Francisco 49ers and their drafts, they draft D linemen really high all the time, and they draft everything else pretty low.
All right, what if you sign Jimmy G, you take a defender at 2, second pick, you take Bijan Robinson, Pierce and Bijan, and you just run the ball like crazy next year?
They asked Bijan about it, and Bijan was like, I love me some Dameon Pierce. I know, I'm with you. That'd be crazy.
I'm just saying, it's another option out there.
It would be it'd be a bad move value-wise when you're constructing a roster.
It would be.
Yeah, it'd be fun to watch.
But we'll see. Yeah, we will see what they do.
I can't believe. Okay,
but that's big news.
That is big news. There you go, breaking news. My man Patrick, thank you for that. All right, we come back. We got off the record on the other side, right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. A little late here because we went up against it last segment because of the breaking news that the Carolina Panthers have traded up to the number 1 overall spot in the draft with the Bears. The Bears stockpiling picks for Justin Fields. They already now got Justin Fields some more weapons with DJ Moore because he was part of that trade
I
as
gotta
well.
check Justin Fields' social media. See him doing dances and celebrations.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Hey, but you know what? I respect that because the Bears, I think that's part of them trusting in a young quarterback and wanting to provide him with some more weapons and a better supporting cast. So we've been talking about that all week long with Lamar Jackson and the lack of supporting cast that he's had. Aaron Rodgers, who may be a JETS member of the Jets before it's all said and done, he has not decided whether he is going to even play in 2023. Out of his darkness retreat, he went in there to ponder his future, and he has not stated whether he is going to play or where he will play next season. But the 39-year-old quarterback is one of several featured speakers that has already been scheduled for the Multidisciplinary Association for the Psychedelic Studies, Psychedelic Science Conference of 2023. That's right. I'm not making it up. That is real. It is the largest psychedelic gathering in history. The conference, which is expecting about 10,000 attendees, will include speeches, workshops, and panel discussions about all things hallucinogenic. Of course, Rodgers, who's been outspoken about his passion for plant-based psychedelics like ayahuasca, credits that with helping his mental health. And Rodgers has also spoke about mushrooms in the past, and now he is a scheduled speaker at the largest psychedelic gathering in history. How you like that, Patrick?
He's got his future cut out for him.
Oh, this is great. I mean, come on. I am praying he goes to New York.
Here's what I love.
Please go to the Jets.
You know that this dude in like 10 years is going to be sitting around with a bunch of 25-year-old girls doing ayahuasca and other stuff. And they'll be like, I had to take a break here from college. And he's like, what did you used to do? And he's like, I was a 2-time MVP, Super Bowl champion in the NFL. They're like, what?
And what's wrong with that, Patrick? What's wrong with that?
Because he's going to be doing it while wearing like a skirt and a scarf around his head.
Oh, he's definitely going to be a shaman or something like that. Like he's going to take on the role of one of these kind of spiritual
He's a guy who's
going to
use the phrase third eye at least once a day.
Yeah. And he's going to move to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he's going to become the shaman to the stars.
Oh.
I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a future shaman to the stars. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you. Because he loves to hang out in the Hollywood circles a lot.
Yeah, especially with them girls.
He is not. Yeah, I would say this. He either dates a starlet or he's a single guy, pretty much. So that goes back to the Hollywood thing. I think he might be a bachelor. He might be one of those like bachelors, even when in his old age. Like he's gonna be a bachelor forever kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about date women, but never get married to a woman.
And just like every once in a while, pop up on a sports show, and they'll ask him a question. He'll be like, "Guys, I didn't come here to talk about that. I came here to talk about the healing powers."
He could end up being like the NFL's version of Bill Walton.
Oh my God!
Wouldn't that be awesome if he starts calling games?
If he is that bombastic at some point, that'll blow my mind.
I would say you say that he does. When you talk to him though, he's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
And he's provocative. Like
he is. I don't see him calling a game and watching a long pass down the field. Throw a bomb, big fella.
Okay, so maybe not Bill Walton. Maybe something else. Don't you get my point? I think I actually like Aaron Rodgers. I like where he's going, and I hope he goes to the JETS Jets. Sports fans deserve this story. The ones who love Aaron Rodgers and the ones who hate him, they deserve this story because it's going to be damn fun to watch. Whether it's success or whether it's an ultimate failure, we're all going to be riveted by the drama. All right, we come back. We'll get into Texas men's basketball. Speaking of drama, they beat Oklahoma State, and they got a big game tonight versus the Purple Kryptonite. We'll discuss it right here on Ball Don't Lie. I want to put on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. If time is money, my friends at Apple Leasing are in the business of saving you both. Apple Leasing has the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The professionals over at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. And all it takes is one phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. Apple Leasing's simple interest, easy lease allows you to have a lot more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is through the roof. We all know it. We all feel it. It's never been more expensive to buy a new car, buy a used car, buy anything for that matter. So leasing makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. So call Apple Leasing today. 512-346-9977. That's 512-346-9977. Let them see how much money they can save you. Apple Leasing gets all the same discounts and all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they pass those savings on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a 512 Friday. That's when we play jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have the opportunity to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Tomar and the FCs. They're playing Saturday at the White Horse.
Yeah, I like that, man. It's a nice groove right there. Way to start off the 5 o'clock. Hope everybody out there is being safe. We know that it's probably a traffic Mageddon out there right now in the ATX. You got the rodeos in town, South by Southwest starting up, kind of the tech portion of it. So a lot of people out there in the ATX enjoying the beautiful weather in the ATX as well.
Speaking of the rodeo, I will tell you, we do have a pair of tickets to Flo Rida
Whoa.
at the rodeo on Monday that we're giving away, and you can register at hornfm.com.
Whoa, talk about burying the lead, Patrick.
So Flo Rida tickets available, hornfm.com, register up there. I got word from KK before the show. We need to tell the people.
I didn't even know that. Folks, I had no idea. Don't be mad at me. But blame Patrick. We should have been pumping Flo Rida from the jump today. It should have been a Flo Rida Friday. I could have added that to the intro. Should have been a Flo Rida Friday.
Have you ever
man.
met Flo Rida?
Huh?
Have you ever met Flo Rida?
I've never met Flo Rida.
I've met Flo Rida.
You've met Flo Rida?
I've met Flo Rida before.
And how did you meet Flo Rida?
At a
first of
different
all?
radio job.
Oh,
He came to the radio
nice.
gig.
Is Flo Rida cool?
He's all right. I mean, you can tell it's funny because he's one of those rappers that definitely not a freestyler.
Oh yes, there are those. Yes.
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 Because
No,
he come
that
up and
makes
he's like, I mean, I can't really perform and I can't do this, and then Spill asking him questions. He was doing a Q&A and then asking about it. He'd be like, yeah, I don't really do that.
You know what? I'm glad he admitted, like, nah, man,
Yeah.
that ain't really what I do.
It's not really my thing.
Yeah, because there's some rappers who, they're afraid to admit that they have no freestyle ability. It's like, no, it's okay. Admit that you got to write it down. Like, that's the way you operate. You got to write it down. I always have the difference between, I always compare Sark to a rapper that can't freestyle because his script is awesome.
Yes.
You let Sark write a script, and Sark's opening script's going to be money. Ooh, it's fire. It's like Hov wrote that script, like Jay-Z. But then you ask him to freestyle after the script is over and improvise and adjust on the fly, and you sound like Flo Rida trying to freestyle.
You sound like that. And we got the text line. Our buddies Souls Extolled are playing tonight as well. They're doing a show. I'm not playing them today because they get played a few other times during the show, and I got it planned out for another time. But
nice.
Souls Extolled is doing a big house party thing, which is another cool South by thing. They're doing a house party with 5 or 6 bands.
Is it it's called a house party. It's not an actual house party.
No, it's a house, and then they got set up the band, and then you buy a ticket basically, and it's all inclusive. So all your drinks and everything.
So it's an actual house party.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't been to a house party in a long time.
But it's a nice house.
Well, I know, but still,
nice,
a house party though, like an
Yeah.
actual. I'm not.
Yeah.
Some of y'all like, oh, I had a party. No, you didn't have a house party.
No.
You had a party at your house.
No.
There's a difference. Oh, I have a house party every Tuesday, first Tuesday. No, you don't. You have a party at your house. That's not a house party.
No, someone has to have the kid and play a haircut, or else you ain't got a house party.
You know what? That movie is on my HBO Max. And I'm afraid to watch it.
The LeBron
one, the
one?
LeBron-based house party. I'm afraid to watch it.
It seems like there's probably 3 or 4 good jokes in it. If you want to sit through 90 minutes for 3 or 4 good jokes,
I'll take the under. I'd take the under if you have some 3 or 4 good jokes. I will take the under on that one, man. So for real. So it says Sark has a ghostwriter. Well done there to continue the flow rider there analogy. I like that. Okay. We got a lot to get to. I want to talk. Oh, speaking of, this is random though. We'll get to Texas basketball here in a second, and we'll also talk about the big story in sports because that was breaking news that Patrick broke just couple of segments ago. Do you know that Shaq is performing at the Big 12 championship, the Big 12 tournament? Shaq is performing. He was hired and paid by the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like Brett Yarmark has hired him.
Yeah, he's played Stubbs before.
Yeah.
He's a DJ now.
Well, I know, but like a conference hired him though. It's kind of new. I agree. He's played. I know he's DJ Diesel.
You know,
or
gave
something.
the number Bill Self because Bill Self had Snoop
You're
Dogg
right.
do
He
that
did.
pregame when they were going to suspend Bill Self and put
You're
all the
right.
sanctions, and he came out with strippers and shot money
And
in the
fake-
crowd.
They said it was fake money later, and I was like,
Oh, I don't care. It is such a slap in the face.
That's how you know F-U NCAA. That was a middle finger
What are you
to the
going to do? We're
NCAA.
Kansas.
We're
We're one of the best
Hey.
basketball programs in the country. What are you going to do?
You're right. You're damn right. And still, they are still Kansas. Exactly. But you're right. Shaq Diesel did play like one of their shows or something. They did something, and he played one of their shows. But yeah, Brett Yarmark. Give Brett Yarmark credit, man. He's all about because Shaq is performing at the Big 12 tournament. Him and Fat Joe. I don't know what not the Fat Joe thing. But basically, Brett Yormark is talking about he wants the Big 12 to be the nexus of sports and pop culture. So he's going to try to, former Rock Nation exec, he's going to try to fuse the two. Pop culture and sports, the Big 12, baby. How you like that?
He
got the Big 12 anthem. He don't
did
take a night off.
No, over at the T-Mobile Arena.
People have not heard that. That was not me just making up a song there. The Big 12.
It sounded just as good. I don't want to disparage the good name of PL like that.
Exactly. For those, what's it? The rapper's name? PL. For those who have not heard, Brett Yormark also commissioned a Big 12 tournament basketball anthem. So it's PL, and I think the name of it is Night Off.
There's no nights off.
No nights off.
No nights off.
Whatever.
Because they don't take any nights off except for usually Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. But other than that, no nights off.
But I like what Brett Yormark's doing, man. He's already making moves. So Shaq Diesel going to be performing at the Big 12 tournament. Okay, let's get to the big news, then we'll get to Texas basketball. Big news is that the Carolina Panthers made a hell of a move. They made a huge move. They decided to go up all the way to the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, trading 2 first-rounders and a second-round pick. And DJ Moore is also a part of this deal. DJ Moore will be going to the Bears as well. So a significant amount of draft capital, but also a starting player as well, ends up going to the Bears. Now the Bears, man, we'll get to the Bears here in a second, but, I mean, they're stockpiling a lot of draft capital, so they got no excuse now. They can really, really build around Justin Fields. But so the compensation overall, number 9 pick, number 61 pick, and a first-round pick in 2024, a second-round pick in 2025, and DJ Moore. So essentially 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore. That's what they get in exchange for the number 1 overall pick. I, as a Texans fan, I can tell you I am a little upset. First heard the news. I did. Thanks. Texter said, I think I heard Rod B have a mini meltdown. When I heard the news. I did. I didn't expect the news, by the way. Patrick broke it. I had a mini meltdown. I was able to gather myself as a Texans fan. I think the Texans, this should have been the Texans in my opinion. The Texans have the draft capital. They have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft and in next year's draft. They have a ton of draft capital in the next 2 drafts. And if they really like their quarterback, whoever that quarterback was, they should have been moving up. But now it is Carolina. I'll give a lot of props to Frank Reich. I've always said this about Frank Reich. I thought Frank Reich was a good coach. I told you that too, Patrick. People was talking down on Frank Reich. I said, man, Frank Reich made the playoffs, he was there, 5 years? And he made the playoffs in 2 out of his 5 years with a carousel of quarterbacks every year. Remember, Andrew Luck retires. That's not his fault. But then Jacoby Brissett takes the role, and then they bring in Phillip Rivers. I think it's Carson Wentz in there, and then Matt Ryan. And truth is, they should have made the playoffs, I believe, 3 years because Carson Wentz lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe. And that was like Urban Meyer's Jacksonville Jaguars, like a really bad Jacksonville Jaguars team. If they'd have won that game, they'd have made the playoffs that year too. So I think Frank Reich was a good coach, but one of the unforgivable sins of the football gods will not forgive that a coach can make is that you don't lock down your quarterback or you don't find the quarterback. That's like half the job at head coach and GM. Find the quarterback. And every year they kind of went through a stopgap, went through a bridge quarterback. And like I said, he had varying degrees of success. But ultimately, the quarterback position represents job security for head coaches. And if you got a lot of instability at quarterback, and you got a lot of instability when it comes to your job security or job insecurity, whatever it may be, you just don't have enough of it. And he did not. As soon as they had a really bad year at Matt Ryan, then he was out. I think the lesson learned from Frank Reich was, I got to find my quarterback. I think he convinced ownership with the Carolina Panthers, we got to go find our quarterback, and we need to do it by any means necessary. That's exactly what they did. Texans should have had the same attitude. They did not. I do believe it's possible the Texans made a miscalculation, but your theory, Patrick, is that maybe they're not going quarterback at all.
I don't know. First of all, props to David Tepper for when you hired Frank Reich. I said it just seemed kind of boring. It's not boring anymore.
Not boring.
Because now you have an actual quarterback.
Yeah.
So props to David Tepper for pulling the trigger. If you're going to try and make the moves, make the moves. But yeah, I think the Texans now, they went Mario Williams. They went Jadeveon Clowney. They've always tried to go defensive line and get that edge rusher. I think they do that again. I'm not as sold on Will Anderson as some other people are, but that may be the pick. And so I think they go edge rusher for the first round. Then once we get to 12, that's the question. Do you keep 12? Do you move back because you're saying, hey, man, we're maybe going for a quarterback later? And then I think you go up. I think they're going to sign Jimmy G, or at least go after Jimmy G. And the question for Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be, do you want to be a stopgap again at 31 years old and sign a 3-year deal, or are you trying to sign something longer and be the guy? Like Derek Carr didn't want to be a stopgap quarterback. That's why he didn't necessarily want to go to the Jets or go to the Panthers or somewhere else, or the Commanders, because they had another quarterback kind of in waiting. That's why he went to the Saints. I'm not sure if Jimmy G is going to want to go if the plan is to draft another quarterback the year after.
Yeah, Texans could decide. They got a defensive coach. They went defense last year early on, first and second picks in the draft with Derek Stingley and Jalen Petrie. Maybe they figure we built the secondary basically with foundational pieces. Now let's go build the front seven. And, yeah, maybe they do go defense here. Maybe they figure it's either they're going defense or they like more than one quarterback in the draft. And they figure one of those quarterbacks they like will fall to them at number 2. And maybe you also are right, Patrick, looking at Frank Reich's history, Bryce Young doesn't look like his type. Everybody's got a type, right? If you go look at the history of the women I've dated, you probably say Rod B's got a type, right? He's got a type. He likes brunettes, who's got athletic figures, whatever it may be. I don't know what you'd find, actually. I've kind of had the Rainbow Coalition in the women that I've dated. But anyway, people usually have a type, especially when it comes to evaluations, especially when it comes to scouts and coaches. They got a type that they like, right? Sark likes what kind of receivers? Skinny, speedy receivers. That's just the kind of receivers he likes. What type of quarterbacks does Sark like? He likes pocket passing quarterbacks. You know what your coach likes and his types. And the type of quarterback that Carson Wentz likes, as Patrick pointed out, it looks like he favors or prefers pocket passing QBs. And Bryce Young, although is a pocket passing quarterback, he is more unconventional, meaning the size, his slight frame, if you will, and even his style of play are a bit unconventional. And I think Frank Reich wants more conventional, and that would go to a C.J. Stroud or Will Levis. So maybe the Texans know that too. They're we like Bryce Young, and we know Bryce Young's going to fall to us because even if they trade up to get the number 1 pick, they're not taking that guy.
And Frank Reich did draft Carson Wentz when he was the offensive coordinator at the Eagles when they drafted Carson Wentz.
Okay.
So, and then he went and got him again, and that's with the number 2 overall pick. So that was a quarterback, if we want to look at who he was involved with last time he drafted. Jared Goff went 1, Carson Wentz went 2. Not a great quarterback draft. That was the one.
Hey, Jared Goff is playing well now.
No, who's the best one? Dak Prescott, probably.
Yeah.
Out of that draft.
Yeah.
Because Paxton Lynch, Christian Hackenberg, remember when we were all worried Bill O'Brien was going to take him?
Oh.
Because he recruited him at Penn State.
Jerry wanted Paxton Lynch and Connor Cook, I believe, as well.
Jacoby Brissett, Cody Kessler, Connor Cook.
Jacoby Brissett also ended up with Frank Reich at one time.
Yeah, there is not a lot of. So Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz are your top 3 quarterbacks in that draft. So the Cowboys came out well on that one.
The Cowboys, I would say the Cowboys need to draft more quarterbacks. They actually are pretty good when they draft them. They drafted Mike White. That's with the Jets right now.
Yeah.
When the Cowboys decide to draft a quarterback, they actually aren't bad at it. They just don't draft enough of them. So that's the news coming from the NFL. Big news. We'll get back to that conversation, too. Just a little bit of Texas basketball talk here. Texas with a big win over Oklahoma State last night. They got to take on the Purple Kryptonite tonight versus TCU. And we'll get to that. TCU with a big win over K-State. A lot of people had K-State picked to win that matchup in the Big 12 tournament, but they forced 20 turnovers. I believe they were 11 of 25 from three-point range. Just when people start talking trash about TCU's lack of three-point efficiency, that's when they have an outlier performance, and they did that against K-State, and they came out on top. So Texas facing TCU tonight, but getting back to a game, Patrick, versus Oklahoma State, I think the biggest storyline had to be the defense. I mean, the Texas defense was stellar. It was suffocating. I mean, it was really one of their best defensive performances all year long. They held Oklahoma State to 37% shooting. They said 27% shooting from the field and 15% shooting from three-point range. I mean, they just put the clamps on Oklahoma State. Texas did not shoot great offensively. They only shot 37% from the field, so they weren't great, but their defense left no doubt and really put Oklahoma State out of their misery.
Yeah, this was. I mean, they played well overall. Oklahoma State, the whole Caleb Boone thing, Caleb Boone has been a thorn in Texas' side for years. And for whatever reason, he seems to have had a falling out there with Mike Boynton and Oklahoma State, and he just wasn't. He's been moved to the bench. He came in, missed a lot of shots in the paint, just didn't seem like he was the same player that we played twice this season. So that was a huge help because that is a guy who, when Oklahoma State had been struggling, had always been kind of the guy to keep them in games against Texas. That once you take that out of the equation, Texas was able to handle everybody else on the court. So it was all around. Defense will travel. You have to have that intensity. They need to have it for 40 minutes. You can't lapse up on that because that was almost a game at the end in the fourth quarter.
Right.
It wasn't because they were able to keep it far enough out. But, yeah, you have to pay more attention to all your assignments and make sure it's not like you were putting in Cole Bott and Cole and all those other guys. You're not putting in the end of the bench where, yeah, the defense is going to start to suffer a little bit more because they just don't get playing time. Those guys are newer. You were still had your guys in the game, and they just started to get laxed on defense. So you got to make sure you play a full 40 minutes because now you're going up against a TCU team that is really, really good.
They're just playing well right now. TCU is.
Yeah, they're finding their role. So I'm TCU is going to be, this one's going to be a tough game. Timmy Allen most likely not playing again. He was a big loss yesterday because they were just trying to find that mid-range game.
You need a bucket. You just had your droughts where you need a bucket, and Timmy's a bucket.
And I mean, and TCU watched that game last night, and they know, all right, here's the things we need to do. We need a pump fake on all our threes. They were jumping at every pump fake, so let's pump fake as much as we can. Let's try and guard them on the perimeter and guard them in the post and leave mid-range and let them beat us at that before we really focus on coming out as big men, stay in the paint to try and get blocks. I think you'll see that a lot from TCU tonight too.
That's a good point. I think another headline coming out of that performance versus Oklahoma State also was Dylan Dessou. Man, he is starting to play his best basketball right now.
He is, and I mean that's as long as he stays out of foul trouble. Dylan Dessou is a huge piece of what Texas does. We've just seen him in too many games get into foul trouble and play 7 minutes, 10 minutes of a game, and some of those minutes will be not as important of minutes. If he's able to stay in the game, he had 3 personal fouls. That's where you want him finishing games at, not even 4, because then you have to start rotating him out. Christian Bishop didn't look great in that game, and so you need to see Dylan Dessou come out and play like that again, but they're going to be going right at him.
Yeah.
He needs to be smart, stay on his feet, stay straight up and down, and not try to go for plays where there is no positive solution. You're too valuable on both ends of the court to be going for block shots and stuff when you don't need to. Like when it's gonna be a block shot or a foul, like when it's a foul or a made basket, just let him get the basket. It's not where you're too valuable.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. He played season high 32 minutes and was basically a game high plus 19 when he was on the floor in that win. 11 points, 11 rebounds, big game for Dylan Dessou. And last 4 games, he's averaging almost 14 points per game, 6 rebounds. He's playing some of his best basketball as well. All right, so we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about Texas basketball and their matchup coming versus TCU later on. We come back, Raj, around the day. This is apparently the biggest factor in determining success in the NFL. If you ask our friends over at Football Outsiders, we'll talk about that on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Everybody knows that my favorite tequila is Hot Cat Tequila. If you tasted Hot Cat Tequila, you'll be a fan of it as well. The Cat stands for cinnamon, agave, and tequila, and the recipe is just as simple and brilliant. It's just cinnamon, agave, nectar, and tequila. That's why it's so light and so smooth. Hot Cat Tequila is a tequila lover's dream, and if you're not a fan of tequila, Hot Cat Tequila will make you a fan of tequila. It'll turn any event into a party, and every party feels like a celebration. So celebrate and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. Once you try Hot Cat, you can't go back. to that old cinnamon whiskey or that cheap tequila you were ordering rounds of. So turn up your party with Hot Cat Tequila. It's the perfect way to pregame for all the big games, concerts, festivals, or any night on the town with family and friends. Hot Cat Tequila is best served cold for a quick round of shots or to sip on the rocks. So visit cattequila.com. That's cattequila.com to find a store near you that sells Hot Cat Tequila or to find a bar near you that serves Hot Cat Tequila. Toast and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Big story of the day, of course, is the big trade. Carolina Panthers moving all the way up to the number 1 overall pick, trading with the Bears, trading 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and a player, DJ Moore, for the number 1 overall pick. And I believe my man Patrick pointed out to me at ESPN, they are looking at some of the Vegas odds that are now shifting for who's going to be drafted number 1 overall. You said C.J. Stroud right now?
C.J. Stroud is now the front runner.
So, yeah, the theory of you're looking at the type of quarterback that Frank Reich prefers, or at least his quarterbacks that he's had a hand in either drafting or choosing, says that he prefers a more conventional, prototypical quarterback, with functional mobility becoming all the rage. That's becoming tougher and tougher to just isolate and find a prototypical, pocket passing quarterback. But the closest things to it in this draft class would be Will Levis and then C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's kind of a mix of both. I mean, C.J. Stroud can give you both. But definitely looking at the outliers among the quarterbacks, then you would definitely be looking at Bryce Young as one of those potential outliers. So that's the big news. And I wanted to get into something I saw today from Football Outsiders. Remember, we discussed that the NFL did set a record this year for the most starting quarterbacks that have started a different starting quarterbacks to start a game this past season. I believe the number was like 68 or 69. Even if they didn't have the 17th game, they still would have started had more different starting quarterbacks this season than any other season. They still would have set the record. So they did it by a long ways. Teams need to start prioritizing the backup quarterback. But injuries, they just play such a huge role, period. And Football Outsiders have what they call their adjusted games loss, the AGL statistic. And essentially, it's a deep dive analytical metric about injuries and how many games overall a team loses based on player injury. And I believe it's based on the players that are on that roster. And it does show you that some teams, although, they may have regressed or had down years because of injuries at specific positions or just because of, coaching change, bad scheme, different things. One of the key factors just in success in the NFL is just trying to stay as healthy as you can. So I went and looked at the adjusted games lost in the NFL this year for basically the top 10 most affected teams by injuries, adjusted games lost. Denver, 148 games, basically 148.6 adjusted games lost. And it's just like injuries to all different players are throughout their roster for the 17 different games. Tennessee, 122. The Rams, 119. These are all teams that had significant regressions, but also underachieved, right? The expectations were high for Denver. People thought they were a Super Bowl contender. The Tennessee Titans, they always had relatively high expectations, and the Rams had the biggest drop-off for a Super Bowl champion in the history of the NFL. Arizona was supposed to achieve more. They're 4th on this list with 113. And Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Bucks, they're also at 113. So they're 5th in terms of adjusted games lost in 2022. And they just start looking at the teams that benefited the most from injury luck, I should say. Pittsburgh, actually, they were first in the fewest adjusted games lost. So the fewest, or at least the best injury luck, or the fewest games affected by injuries. Jacksonville was second. Jacksonville was probably the biggest surprise team, or one of the biggest surprise teams of the NFL. Philadelphia was a playoff team 2 years ago, but went to the Super Bowl this year. Philadelphia was third. Only 42 games lost because of injury. And Kansas City was 4th. Kansas City was right there. They were 4th in adjusted games. So you start looking at it, that's a big part of it. Even when you go back and look at Tom Brady's Super Bowl year, I remember when the Bucs went to the Super Bowl, and one of the biggest factors that helped them out was the injury luck that year. They were the best team in the NFL, or at least they had the fewest amount of games lost due to injury. best injury luck in the league that year. The Rams, when they won the Super Bowl, the Rams were top 5. They were 5th best in injury luck. You got to have that injury luck. There's no question about it. Now, you can help yourself because if your quarterback gets hurt, it helps to have a backup like the Cowboys did. Cooper Rush did a great job for the Cowboys. So it also tests the depth of your roster, right? The overall depth of your roster. Because if you get a lot of guys hurt and you can still compete at a high level, just says your roster is extremely deep. The 49ers are a prime example. 49ers, how about this? In adjusted games lost, the 49ers have ranked below 20th in adjusted games lost for 10 straight seasons. I don't know what the hell's going on with the 49ers and their training staff. I really don't. Like, the 49ers have been dealing with major injuries, probably more so than any other team in the NFL in the last decade. It's been going on for a while. Like I said, they're ranked 20th or below 20th in adjusted games lost for 10 straight years. Washington has been there for 9 straight seasons. It kind of makes sense with Washington, though. San Francisco 49ers are a better run franchise than Washington. They should have better trainers. They should have they have a deeper roster. That's obvious because the 49ers are one of the most injury-riddled team in the league, and yet they still compete. Go to NFC title games, deep playoff runs. Arizona has ranked 20th or below in adjusted games lost for 7 straight seasons. And Denver has ranked in the bottom 10 for 4 straight seasons. So the thing to look at about Denver is Sean Payton can come in there and kind of overhaul the entire culture. And also, he'll bring in a new training staff and bring in a new strength and conditioning staff that also can help out, the durability with players. Man, last year, nobody was affected more by injuries. And injury luck has a way of, it's one of those things. It's hard to have injury luck bad or good consistently that many years in a row. That's why San Francisco 49ers being 20th in adjusted games lost is just remarkable. For 20th or below in 10 straight seasons, it's remarkable to have that much bad injury luck. But watch out for Denver next year. I know it sounds crazy. If Sean Payton can revitalize and resuscitate Russell Wilson's career, they were decimated by injuries, more so than any team in the league. The Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans were middle of the road. They're 18th and 14th. So it didn't really determine their season one way or the other, being overwhelmingly affected by injuries, bad or good. Atlanta, another outlier, they've ranked in the top dozen for adjusted games lost in 7 of the last 8 seasons. So they've been one of the healthier teams in the NFL. Still meant nothing. Buffalo is actually, they've been lucky. They've been above average in adjusted games lost for 6 straight seasons. So they should have been cashing in on that too. And considering they got a running quarterback that is as physical a runner and irresponsible of a runner that he is, they haven't lost him either. Knocking on some wood. Pittsburgh, top 10 in adjusted games lost in 6 of the last 7 seasons. And the Rams had been top 10 for 6 straight seasons until they crashed in 2022. Got to have the injury luck. And it ain't all luck. You can make your own. If I was the 49ers, I'd probably be trying to study what we could do differently. And you know what? One thing I think that affects the 49ers too, they are one of the more physical teams in the league. And I think, being a physical team, that there's also some downside to that, a byproduct of that is I think you end up with more guys getting hurt too. Physical style of play. Remember this year, every opponent except for the Eagles, every opponent that played the 49ers lost the next week. Yeah. No opponent that played the 49ers won the week after they played the 49ers or their next game.
Yeah.
It's brutal to play on. They're just physical. But they hurt themselves a lot of times,
They
too.
do, because it's an old school thing, and you hear this with football players a lot, and this was the thing that you'd hear about with wrestlers, is back when wrestlers used to wrestle 7 days a week, right?
Yeah.
They were basically, our body was one big callus. So as long as you kept doing it, you were fine. But the moment you stopped, everything falls apart. And football players, if you would watch, like Deacon Jones, it's a perfect example. Deacon Jones was this feared defensive lineman. And if you saw him at 45 years old, that dude looked like he was 80. Because it was just one callus. He played nonstop and just never let it go. And then all of a sudden they're like, you're not going to hit anybody for a while. Now a strong wind could take you out.
That's a great point.
And so now the guys never build up those calluses. So it's like a guitar player, every time he plays, he's bleeding out of his fingers because he never builds up the callus because they're trying to prevent long-term damage, which is a good thing to be like, hey, man, we want you to be able to walk with your children and play games with your kids and be able to walk when you're 50 years old. But the price for that is you're going to have way more smaller injuries of breaks and tears and everything else.
Yeah.
Because you just are not, your body's not conditioned to do it every single day.
No, that's a great point. I haven't thought about that, but you're right. And, yeah, and like I said, the 49ers are always at the bottom of this list.
Because they're playing old school football. So new school football guys get new school injuries of, hey, man, 280-pound guys are not supposed to be able to run and jump the way you are. Like the Zion Williamson injuries, where you're like, yeah, your body's not meant to do this. So your tendons are the same as what you're supposed to be, but you put so much muscle mass on them. That's the new school injuries. 49ers get a lot more of the old school injuries of tears and rips and stuff of just contact injuries because they play a brutal style of football, which is old school football. But old school guys used to be a giant callus.
Yeah, honestly, I love that theory. That's a great theory. And, yeah, the 49ers, there, in terms of their rank, they're 24th in injury luck. This past season, they were 29th in, if you kind of look at it, in 2021, they were 29th. And every year's like that for them. Right? So to your theory, your callus theory, Patrick, it holds a lot of water when looking at the 49ers and their history. And this goes before even my man Shano, but before Shano, think about before that was Harbaugh, like a couple. They had Chip Kelly in there before then, like a Tom Sula. But then before that, there was Harbaugh, who was also
how many
physical.
guys retired early because of Harbaugh?
Because of how physical the team was.
And it's just brutal.
And you had to play another. And by the way, I wouldn't doubt they had to do that because they were going up against the Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
You had to be physical. Legion of Boom was physical as hell.
Because Legion of Boom was speed physical too. Like they were the impact.
Physical, yeah.
And 49ers have been a lot of it's not so much impact as it is wearing down of because it's a lot more D line. Like Legion of Boom was more linebacker and secondary.
They built the Legion of Boom from the outside in.
Yes.
Shano builds his teams from the inside out.
Yeah. And so did Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so you had those kind of that difference of what kind of wear and tear you put on your body.
That's So anyway, I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think Patrick's theory, I love his callus theory. That's a good one too. Hopefully, I'll share it with my boy Shannon. I don't know if it'll help at all.
You can't really do it.
I don't know
anymore.
if they can do it, but it show you how deep they are, though. They did. And by the way, the Ravens are also one of the teams that deals with a ton of they have bad injury luck too. So on top of the Ravens having all of the issues with the lack of supporting cast for Lamar Jackson, and yes, Lamar Jackson having his own injuries, they've had some of the worst injury luck in the NFL too. Just in the last 3 years, the Ravens are among the most injured teams in the league in kind of like the last 3 years.
In that players poll, their like strength room and training room got really low reviews.
Yeah, you could be right about that.
So they may have bigger issues of the staff and people not being told to report injuries and that kind of. Because that's another thing.
Kansas City had that. Yeah. Kansas City players said they were scared to speak up about injuries.
Yes. So there's like that. That's a prevalent thing in football. In any sports. Yeah.
Baltimore 25th in 2022 in injury luck. They were 32nd in 2021. They had the worst injury luck in the league in 2021.
Yeah.
And I bet 2020, if I looked at it, 2020 is very similar for them too. So they've just had. That's another thing that Baltimore plays your callus theory though.
Harbaugh. It's another Harbaugh.
It goes to your callus theory, though. It does. Like they play a really tough brand of football, and they can just beat you into submission.
It's you live in Austin, so everybody knows a guitar player. Ask a guitar player if you were to play for 5 hours straight once a week. You'd be like, yeah, my fingers would bleed every single time I did it because I'm not building up calluses on my fingers. You have to have more impact. NFL is not allowed to have as much contact in practice now to allow that kind of buildup. It's there. I don't know. There is an easy solution to it, but you have to find somewhere in the middle, or these injuries will continue.
I have to do that with. I think football players sometimes do that with their feet.
Yeah,
you got soft feet, like you gotta get calluses on. You got to get a couple of blisters on them joints, and then get them real rough, and then you'll be all right. But also to that point, you ever seen the movie Whiplash?
Yeah.
Oh. It's a great movie. But he did that with the drums. Like he's basically till they
bled.
Blood on,
I mean, that's, and I see it's,
blood on the kit.
everybody knows. Everybody has a drum kit with blood on it, or with a
That's
bass,
wild.
a guitar in it. Because there's a point where you play too much. Like you're like, I'll have 7 gigs this like South by. So like I'll do 7 gigs, and you're like, you don't practice enough before it, so you don't build up your calluses. It's that theory as the whole.
I love it. I love your callus theory, man. Like I said, I think it holds water, but I don't know if there's a solution, like you said.
That is
but
the problem.
It's a good theory, but I don't know if there's a solution to it. All right, we come back. We will get into, we'll just, we'll bump off the record, get back to the top story of the day, which is the big trade that the Panthers made to get the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn, 512 Friday. That's when we play jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you can catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is She Verb. They are playing Saturday at Central Machine Works.
All right, there you go. If you missed any of these selections for 512 Friday, please go check out hornfm.com. My man Patrick, he puts them up there for you in case you might have missed them. And you can go look really smart, look really cool in front of all your friends, like you know where all the cool bands are, where all the hot spots are. Really, it's just Patrick. He is in the know. All right, this news about the Panthers is not good news for the Texans. I said it when the news broke. I said, this is bad news for the Texans. The Panthers trading up to the number 1 overall pick, trading 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore, the wide receiver, to the Bears in exchange for that number 1 overall pick. Here is what Danny Kelly is tweeting out. Danny Kelly is a senior staff writer for The Ringer, and he works on their NFL draft show. He tweeted out 10 minutes ago, Panthers beat reporting Carolina likes multiple quarterbacks and could even trade back if they get interest. What? So basically, this is a message to the Texans, like, hey, Texans, yes, we like multiple quarterbacks. Like, I think I hypothesize the Texans might like multiple quarterbacks too, and don't care who they take with the number 1 overall pick because they're going to have one of the quarterbacks that they covet at number 2. But if the Panthers are saying that they like both quarterbacks too, that means they're enticing either the Texans or some other team who has fallen in love with one of those quarterbacks to trade it all, or at least trade a ton of draft capital to give them their capital back that they gave to the Bears for the number 1 overall pick. Wow. So Texans, I told you screwed it up. You should have just traded for the number 1 overall pick. Or better yet, you should never be in this position. So you should have lost the last game to the Colts, and then you would have had the number 1 overall pick. But since you didn't do that, you should have traded up for the number 1 overall pick. But now you are at the mercy of whoever decides to trade up for that pick. Right now, it's the Carolina Panthers. It could be another team.
It could be the Colts.
It could be the Colts.
It could be the Colts. They could move back to 4, and they could still, if he's a Will Levis guy.
You're right.
And if because he was a Carson Wentz guy, so if he's a Will Levis guy, then he could still get Will Levis at 4.
Wow.
And they take whoever you want, Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud at 1. I mean, you're not out of it at 2, but this again,
you don't control your own fate,
if the Texans don't make a move, it seems to me that they are going to go defense, that they have already set their mind in one way, that they're not playing this game. They don't want to give up draft capital for these quarterbacks, which I can understand. You saying, like, I like Bryce Young a lot, but I understand the flip side of he may not be what you may not be able to think he may not be able to play the long term. We just talked about San Francisco's injury problems. If they want to play that style, they may say, Bryce Young may not be the guy for us because he is a smaller guy. And I know you never want your quarterback taking that many hits, but they may be more worried about that in the injury side with Bryce Young. If that's what you're saying, I get moving off a year on it, but all you had to do was lose that game.
All you had to do was lose that game. You pulled the Houston Texans. You did what you did because you're a dysfunctional fuster cluck of a franchise.
They did like the Oilers, which is they came from behind to lose. They came from ahead to lose, which is they had the number 1 pick and lost it. By the way, did you see that Titans are going to wear Oilers jerseys?
Yes.
Does that make you as mad as it makes me?
No, I'm not as upset about it.
Because you know why? It's because Bud Adams. It's his family still. And I'm like, you don't deserve. You move the team. You don't deserve this.
I know they still own the rights to all the Oilers. Like what upsets me is the records. They own the Oilers records, like the Titans/Oilers records.
Yeah,
They're not Houston records.
I don't like it one
so
bit.
Earl Campbell's rushing records, that's all Titan stuff. No, I don't like that.
I don't like it.
So yeah, I'm with you.
Like at least the Ravens were classy when they left Baltimore in the middle of the night, or left Cleveland in the middle of the night. That they're still a Browns. They let him have it back.
Yeah, the Titans. I'm with you. I don't like it.
I don't like it one bit.
And they're not even wearing. I hope they wear the cool uniforms at least.
You know what they need to wear? The Tennessee Oilers uniforms, because that's the only team that played in Tennessee is Oilers. Don't wear a Houston uniform.
Yeah, you're right. They could do Tennessee. You're right. They could do that Tennessee Oilers thing. But yeah, I don't like this at all. I just don't like it because the Texans, They are now they don't control their own fate, and they're allowing for other variables now, more and more variables, multiple variables to control what happens in the draft. But more and more, I'm starting to believe, Patrick, you may be onto something, that maybe they're not even going quarterback in the draft. Because if I'm going quarterback in the draft and I have the draft capital the Texans do, as much draft capital, if not more, than damn near any team in this draft, I'm going up to go get my quarterback. Oh, over the next 2 drafts, I should say. I'll go give to my quarterback because I know over the next 2 drafts you have 4 first-round picks.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, if you're going to think Jimmy G, I think the only other team that you really have to compete with would be the Raiders. I think that's the only other team you're competing with, because everyone else is going to be waiting for the draft, or they're going to be or they're going to basically be looking for somebody else. I don't think there's another team that would be their first option. Or you know what? Just go balls to the wall. Go trade for Lamar and go sign Lamar Jackson to a guaranteed deal. Have fun that way.
They're not trading for Lamar
I know.
Jackson. It ain't even. Listen, they won't even trade up for the number 1 overall pick. They're definitely not trading for Lamar Jackson.
No.
They don't really have any. There's no riverboat gambler in these Houston Texans.
No.
So they're gonna stay. I can't believe they're just gonna stay at number 2 and let the chips fall where they may. That's just the attitude. Let the chips fall where they may. We're at number 2. It's not like I believe the Texans are savvy enough to know or be able to predict what's going to happen. They don't have that type of savvy leadership over there. They don't. And I like Nick Caserio. But to say that they know exactly what's going to happen, nobody does. They are going out on blind faith that they'll get their guy or a guy they like at the number 2 pick. And they may very well get that. But it just shows you the mentality of the organization overall. This is a very passive, I don't know. It's a very passive and very casual attitude about securing your future.
Yeah. I'm not thrilled with it.
Right?
I'm not even a Texans fan anymore, and I'm still not thrilled with it.
Exactly.
It seems like you don't know what you're doing. And maybe you do, and maybe you're Kaiser saying everything. But I got to see it to believe it, man.
Great reference there. We're going to end it on the nice reference there. If you don't know the Kaiser Sose reference, then you got to Google it. We'll come back. We'll have the last hour right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn, 512 Friday. We play jams from very talented human beings, local bands, and artists that you can catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Saucer, and they are playing Sunday at Kick Butt Coffee.
Kick Butt Coffee. We talked about Kick Butt Coffee
Yes.
before already. All right. I need to check out Kick Butt Coffee, man. Sounds like a place. I don't even like coffee, but that sounds like a place I can still hang out.
Yeah, I don't
Kick Butt
listen
Coffee.
to this song. Does this song make you think you're gonna sip coffee?
No. I'll tell you exactly. This is not the kind of song that'll be playing in some little lame coffee joint. No. Kick Butt Coffee is exactly right. You can always go check out the jams you might have missed on a 512 Friday at hornfm.com in case you missed any of those. We'll get back to some Texas football discussion. Texas spring football happening this week. Actually started this week. They had their third practice today. Sark met with the media for his media availability. We'll play some of those cuts from Steve Sarkisian and also go over to some of the results from the Texas Pro Day. And if we have time, get into some spring football news, notes, nuggets, and updates there. But the big story, of course, that has really taken over the sports world is from the NFL today. The NFL big trade made by the Carolina Panthers, trading 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders and a player, DJ Moore, to the Bears. The Bears for the number 1 overall pick. And, of course, the domino effect from that is going to affect the Houston Texans, who have the number 2 overall pick. Both of those teams will be in the market for a quarterback. And there is a report from Danny Kelly that the Carolina Panthers like multiple quarterbacks in this draft. And there are two theories. Well, I think maybe my man Patrick have multiple theories. Patrick's got a couple, and I have 1 or 2. So with the Texans, the Texans have not been aggressive about this number 1, at least acquiring the number 1 overall pick. They've had time to, and they've had the draft capital. You got tons of it. Over the next 2 years, I don't know if there's a team in the NFL with more draft capital than the Texans, especially with 2 first-rounders in the next 2 drafts. And they haven't made a move at all yet. There have been whispers in H-Town, just whispers. Heard them talking about it on their sports radio on 610, 97.5, a couple other spots, that the Texans could decide to go defense. That's Patrick's theory, is that's why the Texans have not been aggressive. That they're going defense. Now, Patrick, I'm inclined to believe your theory if I see, and I have no problem with the Texans doing this, by the way, going defense, because they solidified their secondary last year with Derek Stingley and with the safety, Petrie. He was great, by the way. He's fantastic. So I understand that, and maybe now they want to build the front 7 with some foundational pieces. This is a really good draft for D linemen. One of the better drafts for ends and also for interior D linemen. So maybe they want to go there. But if that is the case, then how they handle the quarterback market this season is going to be big. And then how they handle the draft next season is going to be big. So to add to your theory, if your theory is indeed true that they are going defense this draft, then that means they're going to prioritize quarterback next draft. And they also may assume they're going to be really bad next season, and they may not even have to trade up next season to go get their quarterback. They may be bad enough where they can just draft their guy in the top 2, whether it be a Drake May or a Caleb Williams. So if your theory's right, then that's where we're going with this thing, right?
That is
I
the
think, course?
I think that's a course. I don't think that they'll be top 2 picks bad again. You never know, but I think if you figure you're going to draft defense, you've already got 1 draft where you did okay. You did pretty good with Stingley and Petrie.
Yeah, really good.
So you went, okay, we're going to have this. We should be able to beat the Colts a few times. We should be able to beat the Titans a few times. We should get a few wins. And if we can get 6-7 wins, that pulls us right up into that higher team, that 10 to 12 range. But you're also hoping that Cleveland doesn't do anything because you have Cleveland's pick, so you need to watch what Cleveland does. And you have other draft collateral as well.
Yeah, I just
and hopefully you're able to trade Brandon Cooks for something.
Yeah, it's still risque when right now you're in a position to get one of the top quarterbacks, and next year you may be, but then you might have to finagle your way back up to the top. And as we pointed out, listen, Caleb Williams and Sam May seem to be. Is it Sam May or Drake May? I say Sam May.
Sam May is his brother who played basketball for North Carolina.
I was like, why am I thinking Sam May? Okay, yes. But
that was Luke May.
I know. See, now
There's Luke May. There's a Sam May somewhere. Sam Mays is another guy.
It's Drake May though, right?
Yeah, Luke May played basketball for him. It's his brother. And
mixing up my Mays. I apologize.
Yes, Drake May.
But listen, I like Drake May, but aren't there some questions about Drake May still?
Oh yeah, I mean he's had one season.
Yeah.
He had one season.
Caleb Williams and little.
And we said Sam Howell did that at North Carolina. He had one great season, and the next season didn't. And I mean that O-line for North Carolina was really bad for Sam Howell, but he didn't look like a NFL quarterback again. So, it's always all right. Once teams really get a chance to, you're only playing teams once in college. So now all those D coordinators get another year to build for you, and they have a year game planning for you. They may come back, and we'll see a little bit more if they can pick out your flaws after a year of playing and being a starter in college football. That's what we got to figure out about him. Caleb Williams has now gone 2 seasons of being a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, he's
basically. So he's in that area.
He'll be the number 1 overall pick, no question. But I don't necessarily know if like I said, maybe the Texans like that quarterback class, that top 2 quarterbacks better than this class of the top 2 quarterbacks in this class. That could very well be the case. So I have no problem with the Texans passing up on the quarterbacks in this draft. If that's indeed where they're going here and going defense. If they have a plan to get their quarterback for next season.
And I mean, I can go further down.
Plan, though.
I do think we've seen, and this partly goes into the no one wanting Lamar Jackson. I think the fact that Brock Purdy did so well last year has a lot of people and GMs wanting to go that route, even though that's not a real route. I think there's teams that think, hey, you know what? Let's not, quarterbacks want too much. And I can't build a team if a third of my salary cap is going to one guy. So what I want to do is try and get a game manager, and game managers are the new way to do it in the NFL.
I don't think that's where it's going.
I don't think so either. I think there's GMs who want to do it that way.
I don't think that's what they're thinking either. I don't think they're thinking that. I don't think they're thinking that. That would be absurd. That would be a throwback to basically you want to win Super Bowls, the toughest route possible to win a Super Bowl, which is the way the Bucs did it with Brad Johnson, and with the way the Baltimore Ravens did it with Trent Dilfer. Like that's insane. That's insane.
Oh no, I agree. I don't think it's the right way to go.
And the 49ers are, as we just talked about, they're a unique beast. Every NFL person, every NFL exec should know that they're a unique beast. And by the way, they got a Trey Lance on their roster. Well, and remember, this was a happy accident for them. They didn't know Brock Purdy was going to be playing. They thought Trey Lance was going to be the future. Turns out it was Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, they were wrong about that. Oh, it's Brock Purdy. So that's flawed logic if they're thinking that.
I agree.
You're looking at that. I
agree.
That's a scary thought there. Okay. Let's get to some Texas football conversation here because Texas had their third practice of the spring actually earlier today. And Sark spoke to the media at his second media availability after practice, and he talked about a number of different things. I want to go through some of these cuts. The first cut is Sark being asked what he thinks the best position group is on his roster right now. Not even Sark is sure about that.
Probably too early. Quite frankly, it's probably too early. I think we have a deep team. I do. I feel good about a lot of our position groups of just I think we have enough experience kind of across the board on both sides of the ball. I think that we've got a good influx of young talent on our team. I think it's competitive. So I'd hate to say right now that one position group just feels so good. The one thing I will say is, like, up front, anytime you can return your entire offensive line and then you add the players that we had, that feels really good. And then really on the defensive front as well, the fact that we lost 2 good players in Coburn and Ojimo, and it still feels good. I still feel like our defensive front is one of our strengths. I think Sweat and Murphy and Alford and Vernon and that group there, and then how the young guys are coming along. So the line of scrimmage, to me, as you guys know, I value a great deal. I feel really good about that.
I mean, honestly, he's right. It should be the O-line, right? I mean, you returned every starter on the O-line, all 5 on the O-line, and your second group is part of a recruiting haul of offensive linemen, which was the highest ranked group of O-linemen in any recruiting class in the last 5-6 years. I mean, that is a really impressive group. Now, that's mostly all of your second team guys, but you brought back the entire first team. It should be the O-line. All your starters back, in addition to a lot of the backups being more talented or having higher ceilings than the actual starters. There's no other group where you bring back all your starters like that. And honestly, what maybe the secondary, actually, when you look at it, if everything works out, Jalen Catalani brought in, Jaron Thompson returning starter, Ryan Rops returning starter, Jahdae Barron returning starter for you as well. The only newcomer in that secondary should be Terrence Brooks. And from what I hear, Terrence Brooks is the real deal. I even talked to his pops, Ched Brooks, who was a defensive back coach and a footwork coach. And he's talked about how, Terrence Brooks could probably play any position potentially in secondary. I heard Jerry Hamilton say the same thing. He's expected to be the field corner. That's bringing back 4 of the 5 starters in the secondary. So I think it's the O-line. And, man, if we're talking about strength, the secondary should be in the conversation. The D-line would be there too, but you're still not sure about your edges. Your interior D-line is loaded. Interior D-line, you're going to have T'Vondre Sweat, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Byron Murphy, Sadir Mitchell. So if I could just go with one specific, position, overall I'd go with O-line. But if I'm just going with one group particularly, aside from a position, it'd be the interior defensive tackles, like the D tackles. Remember last year, hell, you lost Kendrick Coburn, you've lost Moro Ojimo, 2 guys who are gonna get drafted, and you still are probably 4 deep. You got 4 guys who can give you basically starting reps in an interior D-line with Sweat, Collins, Broughton, and Murphy. Last year, you were 6 deep in interior D-line. You were the deepest interior D-line group in the country last year. Crazy. That's why you led the country. Actually, sorry, take it back. You were second in pressures last year behind Clemson, 277. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think it might be O-line. Patrick, your thoughts?
I agree with you. I think it's O-line.
Should be.
I think it's O-line just because that was your whole focus of that recruiting class. You really tried to get that O-line. It seems like you did a good job. We were talking earlier, Kelvin Banks is just a beast. And if you want to say who might be the most sure thing prospect for the NFL right now, it's probably your left tackle.
Oh, no doubt.
So if we're going with that, I think it's that. And I agree the interior D-line, which is a really good start because you want to start building your team from the inside out and from the lines out. If they can get some edge rushing this year,
that's the key.
If they can get that and get some pressure on the quarterback, that is a really good start to put all this talent that Sark has to play around with it. Yeah,
they were second in the country in pressures last year. Most of those came from the interior D-line. Yeah. They didn't. I mean, the edges were good, but they weren't. They weren't extraordinary. Baron Sorrell is going to be a good player for you, but now you're hoping Jamon Tapp, Justice Finkley, Colton Vasek, by the way, Ethan Burke, that those guys step up. But, man, your interior D-line, you are loaded. So I think that's the position that's the deepest. If I'm looking at O-line, if I'm looking at a particular group, that I'm like, I think your interior D-line, the D tackles, man, it's one of the deepest in the country too. So let's get to this second cut about Jaydon Blue. Cut 2 here, Patrick, because he was asked about Jaydon Blue. Jaydon Blue is getting starting reps now because Jonathan Brooks is out. Keelan Robinson still out. Those guys dealing with an injury. If they have practice, they're very, very limited. They're not going through any hardcore drills and any of the actual hardcore part of the practices. But he was asked about Jaydon Blue and his development so far, since they've seen a lot of him since he's going with the Warrens. Here is Coach Sark on Jaydon Blue.
A lot of times players come in and there's always, especially when they're highly recruited guys like he was, there's always this expectation if they don't play their freshman year, like what's wrong. And a lot of times the development side of their game is really important to their future. I'll use JT Sanders is a great example from 2 years ago. It was always like, what's wrong with JT, or how's he doing, or what's going on? And then boom, here comes year 2, and he has a really good year. And so I've been pleased with Jaydon. Not only the physical maturity, but I think the mental maturity of how to attack every day. I thought he did a really good job last year of really learning from two great guys to learn from in Bijan and Roshan, but also Keelan and Jonathan Brooks. And now, as we're kind of monitoring Keelan and Jonathan, Jaden's getting a lot of the first team reps, and you can see a lot of the things that we've been working on a year ago come to life. I thought today was a physical day. There's some hard, tough runs, and he had some really nice runs and got through there and in traffic between the tackles. And we know what he can do on the perimeter, but to be a back in our offense, you need to be a complete player. And I'm pleased with kind of his development up to this point.
All right, that's Coach Sark talking about Jaden Blue and his development. And I believe the follow-up from, I believe it was the same reporter, asked him, would you like to have a featured back rather than a running back by committee?
I would. I'm used to that. Yeah. I've never not had a 1,000-yard rusher in calling plays in college football. And so the fact that can we get there with one of these guys, we will find out. I do think we've got a lot of good depth there, especially when Keelan and Jonathan are really healthy and ready to go. We got Jaden Blue. We got the influx of Cedric Baxter. Trey Wisner is going to be here in the fall. We moved Savion Red there. So we've got a really talented room. If it feels like one guy can be the feature guy, that would be great. But if we use 2-3 guys in there that play and complement one another, I think we'll be okay with that. But again, time will tell. We have time to get to that point.
Yeah, I think he wants C.J. Baxter. I think that's what they call him now instead of Cedric. I believe C.J. Baxter is going to be the guy, end up being the featured back for them. And I think they want to change a pace back with C.J. Baxter, and I think Jonathan Brooks is going to be that. I think in the end it ends up being a two-headed monster with Cedric Baxter and Jonathan Brooks. And Keelan Robinson should be a complementary piece in the running game. And, I think his development last year was huge. Remember last year, 2 years ago, I should say, he wasn't really a threat beyond the line of scrimmage in the passing game. All of his receptions or even all of his targets were 5 yards within the line of scrimmage. He really wasn't a threat to run a vertical route downfield. That changed last year, so you got to give the coaches a ton of credit for working with Keelan Robinson and expanding his skill set a little bit. So I think if they have a healthy Jaden Blue with Jonathan Brooks, C.J. Baxter, and Keelan Robinson, it'll end up looking like a running back by committee, but I do think you'll have a two-headed monster as your featured back. And I'm hoping he gets back to some of those two tailback sets, the 21 personnel, 2 backs, 1 tight end, 20 personnel, 2 backs, 0 tight ends. Those were the most effective and explosive personnel packages for Texas last year. Now, you could say, well, that's because they had Bijan Robinson and Rojo in the backfield. That is true. They also mixed in some Keelan Robinson in there as well. And remember, a lot of that was the go-go principles that Brennan Marion brought in. That was his 2-back set, which is the West Coast passing game with a triple option run game. They're going to keep some of those same concepts. They lost the 2 backs that made that 2 and 21 personnel package so prolific. But I still think you're gonna bring in number 1 running back in the country in Cedric Baxter, C.J. Baxter, I should say, and Jonathan Brooks, who's a really damn good player too. They didn't use any 2 tailback sets at all in the bowl game, which I thought was a travesty. And even Sark said he would play all 3 running backs in the bowl game. He did not for various reasons, but I digress, not getting into that. Whole point is, I do think they got a lot of talent in the running back room, but it's key that this year Sark has stated that the one element that needs to improve the most on offense is the passing game. She talked about it ad nauseum, talked about it at the end of last season, and it's talked about it here even in the spring. That's where they have to improve the most. A big part of that is the wide receiving room, which regressed last year a little bit, mostly because of Xavier Worthy, and now we know the broken hand that he was dealing with. Now they've upgraded those. Xavier Worthy's back. He's healthy. Jay Witt back in that room as well, and that was his first season completing a season entirely healthy, so that was a big step for him. And then you add guys like Jonte Cook, who is as college ready probably as any young receiver we've seen on the 40 acres in quite some time. We just saw Xavier Worthy as a true freshman have a breakout campaign. Here is Sark talking about that young wide receiving room and how talented they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got 3 returners that are good players, obviously, in Xavier, Jordan and Casey, and I thought Casey really came on there, especially had a nice bowl game for us. But then all of a sudden, AD, who has showed up, has played a lot of football at a high level at Georgia. Jonte, I think, has been exposed to a lot of good football there, obviously at DeSoto, and he's worked at his craft to get there. And DeAndre, very good player. Now, we're all excited to get Isaiah Nair back, and so the competition in that room, I think, is going to be very good. But in the end, as we've touched on, that was a real point of emphasis of ours, that our passing game needs to improve for us to be the team that we want to be. And so rolling those guys in and getting them exposed to playing right now, I'm really comfortable with where they're at.
All right, there you go. I'm trying to make sure he gets that passing game going. And I agree. I mean, last year, they really were extraordinary running the football with Bijan and Rojo. A lot of those guys, they would make something out of nothing. You're talking about guys that would turn a 3-yard loss into a 4 or 5-yard gain. Bijan Robinson set the record for Pro Football Focus season missed tackles in a single season, which were 104, I believe. And on top of that, Rojo actually had a higher broken tackle rate than Bijan Robinson. It was the highest in all of college football over his last 2 seasons, and he actually averaged more yards after contact per rush than Bijan did. So those 2 guys were extraordinary, and I think we saw the running game take a huge hit as a result of that, and it made Texas one-dimensional in that last game versus Washington in the bowl game. And even though Quinn Ewers, I thought, had a pretty good performance, Texas' passing game was not prolific enough. It was not lethal enough for them to be able to win their game with a one-dimensional attack. This year, that they should be able to force teams into quite a conundrum with the different personnel packages they can use and with the personnel they have in the passing game. J.T. Sanders, Jay Witt, X-Man, Isaiah Nayor healthy, A.D. Mitchell thrown out there, and Ajante Cook. They should be able to win matchups across the board in the passing game, as long as Quinn gets the protection and can deliver the football. All right, we come back. We got Cowboys news, notes, and nuggets to get to. Cowboys clear some cap space. Why did they clear the cap space? What do the Cowboys combine interviews tell us about their draft intentions? And also a mock draft, actually 3 top mock drafts, all saying the same thing about the Cowboys' intentions in the first round. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a 512 Friday edition of Ball Don't Lie. We play jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you can catch live right here in the ATX. Who we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Darkbird. They're playing Sunday at Hotel Vegas.
All right. You can always catch up with any of these selections for 512 Friday you might have missed. Go to hornfm.com and you can catch up with them on the website there. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys for a second here. Cowboys combine interviews. The position that was interviewed the most at the NFL Combine by the Cowboys was actually cornerback. They interviewed 9 cornerbacks at the Combine. 9 cornerbacks, 7 safeties, and 6 wide receivers, which is strange because they may draft a safety just because of the Donovan Wilson situation. I don't know if the Cowboys are confident that in this free agency period, which starts up Wednesday, the legal tampering, I believe, period starts up on Monday for the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys are confident that they can sign Donovan Wilson to a deal that is team-friendly. He's going to want big money. It's his first big contract. He was a late-round pick, but this year had a hell of a year for the Cowboys. Led the Cowboys with 70 solo tackles, had a career-high 5 sacks, and he really, ever since he got the start after replacing, I think, Darren Thompson in Week 4 in 2020, he's become a downhill thumper for the Cowboys. So he's going to demand somewhere around maybe $6 million per year. How much the Cowboys are willing to pay. The Cowboys have notoriously skimped on safety, and I'm not mad at them about that, by the way. A lot of Cowboys fans are. They don't spend a lot of free agency money on safety. They don't spend a lot of draft capital on safety. Since 2002, Cowboys have only spent 1 pick in the top 125 picks in any draft on a safety. Since 2013, 75% of the league has picked at least 1 safety in the first 2 rounds. Cowboys have not. That's just not how they operate. So every team decides to skimp on something because it's a salary cap league. So you're on a fixed budget. So you got to skimp on something, right? We all on a fixed budget. When you go grocery shopping, you figure out what you're going to skimp on. You're like, you know what? I'm going to get the H-E-B brand bread, H-E-B brand cookies, but I'm going to get my Bud Light. You know what I mean? I'm going to get my name brand, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
getting a Gatorade.
But exactly.
I'm getting the Gatorade, but you know what? We'll get the H-E-B soda.
H-E-B soda, H-E-B butter. H-E-B stuff is pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
though.
that's good.
Exactly.
I'm not
It's
complaining.
good quality stuff. So basically, the Cowboys skimp on safety, and the first time it worked out for him, honestly, has been when Dan Quinn came on, because Dan Quinn has a system that loves to use safety. He uses 3 safeties 40% of his defensive snaps. So he loves to use safeties. In his positionless football ideology, he has maximized and weaponized Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, and Jaron Kearse. And so the Cowboys, the philosophy on skimping on the safety position, it has blown up in their face more oftentimes than not, but not in the last couple of years since Dan Quinn has become the defensive coordinator. So they may continue with this, and they love Israel Makuyamu. He is a pet project of Dan Quinn, big, tall, lanky, and this is also it's not a deep draft for safeties, but it's a deep draft for corners, and the Cowboys love to convert a long corner into a safety. Oh, Cowboys do it all the time. They'll take a long corner, turn him into a safety. Oh, they've done it like 2 or 3 times. So they could also take that route as well. So Cowboys looking at safety and cornerback. But like I said, at safety, expect the Cowboys to, like I said, continue their philosophy of skimping or finding value there, finding a bargain there at safety. Wide receiver, though, that's interesting. That wide receiver is one of the other positions they're looking at. Cornerback and wide receiver. I do think they'll go cornerback in the draft. As a matter of fact, I'm working on something for Monday about the Cowboys and the cornerbacks in the draft. They're definitely drafting a corner. It goes without saying. I mean, we know the corner opposite of Trevon Diggs hasn't really worked out, whether it was Kelvin Joseph they threw out there. They threw a number of different players out there, even made midseason acquisitions to try to find a corner. So they're going to draft a corner. That's the good news is there are a lot of good corners in this draft. This is a deep draft for cornerbacks for the Cowboys. So that's really good news because they don't have to necessarily prioritize drafting a cornerback really high. Now, they could draft a cornerback really high, but, I mean, they also can draft one in the mid-rounds, the 3rd, 4th, and even 5th round potentially, and get themselves a good cornerback. And that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, it's a deep, deep cornerback draft. The Cowboys can end up taking advantage of that. All right, speaking of draft, the Cowboys in the mock draft that I've looked at, 3 of them, Dane Brugler's mock draft, Todd McShay's mock draft, and Mel Kiper's mock draft. All of these, the latest mock drafts that have come out for the Cowboys. And they all have the Cowboys taking the same position and taking the same player. They all have them taking tight end and have them taking Dalton Kincaid, the Utah tight end. Dane Brugler, Todd McShay, Mel Kiper. Now, all these guys, they work for different play. You know, Dane Brugler, I think, is an athletic guy, and Mel Kiper and Todd McShay are ESPN guys. But at the combine, they all talk. They all hang out. They're all, whispering, and they're all hearing the same reports, talking to the same sources. So whatever sources that these three guys have, their post-combine mock draft, same player and same position for the Cowboys. That's Dalton Kincaid. So, and Albert Breer reported today that the Cowboys made a solid offer to Dalton Schultz. I have no idea what solid offer means, but they made a solid offer, and he declined the solid offer. I think he wants to see what he's worth on the open market, and the Cowboys need to replace that production at tight end, and maybe they're not really sold that Jake Ferguson is ready to take on that much of the role in the passing game. He might be, but the Cowboys use a lot of 12 personnel, which is 1 back, 2 tight ends. As a matter of fact, they used more last year than they had used in previous years. Hell, they used 12 personnel 31% of the time just on first down alone. That was top 5 in the league. They love using multiple tight ends. Remember, they broke out the 3 tight end package, 13 personnel last year too. So Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson, I think they may want to add another tight end just because they like playing a lot of multiple tight end packages. And if they want to run the ball, which Mike McCarthy says they do, they want to run the rock, having multiple tight ends out there is always helpful if you want to run the rock. And it's a really deep tight end draft too. Turns out it's actually one of the deeper tight end drafts. This is from Todd McShay. He said tight ends are arguably the strongest position in the draft. He's projecting 7 tight ends drafted by the end of day 2. That hasn't happened, I want to say, since like 2019 and 2014 prior to that. So it doesn't happen often where you get 7 tight ends ranked that high. But you got Michael Mayer, you got Luke Musgrave, you got Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Washington, who we just talked about from Georgia, and the Iowa tight end, Sam Laporta, and Cade Stover, the Ohio State tight end. So tons of good tight ends out there. And it's actually a really deep tight end free agency class, too.
And I'll throw out a name, too, that I don't know if he's ever going to be in the same shape he was in before. And I know he made a tryout for the Eagles last year, but Blake Jarwin played well for the Cowboys, had that hip injury that was going to take him out for a full year, so they released him. I know he made a tryout for the Eagles last year in December.
Man,
so
I didn't know that.
That's a name that if he's still interested in playing football, if he's still out there, especially if you're going to try and go young at tight end, to bring in someone with a little bit more experience to just go, look, man, we know you're coming off an injury, so you may need to be on more of a snap count.
Yeah.
And not, but we have this young guy in Jake Ferguson, and if we draft another one, Blake Jarwin is somebody that it seems where he's 28 years old. I know his injury was bad, but it seems in a world where tight ends are so valuable that he should be a guy that maybe gets a tryout.
I didn't realize he had such a fall from grace. I didn't realize.
Well, you remember he had that hip injury that took him out, and they were like, he may not play again this season. So he was a cap cut because you can't have a guy on your roster who's like basically he was going to be done, and they didn't even know if he was ever going to come back. I know he tried out for the Eagles,
and I mean the Cowboys liked him when they had him, and right, he was.
The question was him or Schultz.
Yep,
and then he got hurt, so Schultz won. But a lot of people like Jarwin too.
That's a great point. I forgot all about that. You might get him on the cheap too,
and that's what I'm saying. If you can put him in like, especially if you draft this other tight end, if you're going to go Dalton Kincaid and then you have Jake Ferguson, and you just need somebody who has played in the NFL before.
Texter Nate says Anthony Brown will be back, I think. Well, if they sign him, because he's a free agent. Cowboys have basically till Wednesday. Oh, actually, not even until Monday to try to re-sign all of their in-house free agents, and Anthony Brown's one of them. So that's why I wonder. That's why drafting a cornerback for them may not be a bad thing there too. And I love your idea about Blake Jarwin. I'm sure, and the Cowboys love their training staff. So maybe they could take a chance on him.
And they love their guys. And Blake Jarwin was their guy.
That's one of their guys, too. Yeah, the Cowboys got to figure out something to do with tight end. But like I said, also the free agents at tight end, Mike Gesicki, Austin Hooper, Hayden Hurst, Irv Smith, Jordan Akins from the Texans. Jeff Swaim is actually a free agent too, I believe. So there's some tight ends out there you can get potentially on the cheap. And then the Cowboys drafted Jeff Swaim too, didn't they?
I think so, right?
Yeah, I think they did back in the day. There you go. Bring the old man back together.
Bring the old man back.
Jeff Swaim. That'd be pretty good. Old school. All right, we come back. We'll get ready to wrap this thing up, put it in the oven, and we'll let you know what's on tap for us right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Time to wrap this thing up and put it in the oven. Before we get out of here, we'll let you know what's on tap. If you missed any part of any of the shows, please go to Horn FM. You can catch up with them on the podcast page. Of course, Texas basketball coming up. So if you want to catch up Texas basketball, we'll have the pregame for you at 7:30. 7:30?
Yes.
Right here on 104.9?
No, 8 p.m. It's an 8:30 game.
Oh, 8:30,
So
sorry.
8 p.m. pregame. Currently on 1260 and 101.9, you can listen to UT Baseball with Roger Wallace and Mike Harge on the call.
Oh, who's winning? Do we know?
I do not know.
All right, I'll check
pulled
it
up
out.
real quick. Check that out. But yes, you check that. Right now, UT Softball is playing the second game of their doubleheader on 105.3 The Bat. UT Women did win today, so they will be playing tomorrow, a noon game, 11:45 a.m. tip on 105.3 The Bat. So that'll be there. I believe if Texas wins, they will be playing at 1 p.m. tomorrow, I believe. I have to double-check that, but it will be around 1 p.m., so around a 12:30 start for Texas if they are to win tonight against TCU. And you know what? They've got every ability to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it tonight because I want to see how this team once again handles the adversity of being without Timmy Allen. Timmy Allen been such a crucial piece for this team, and honestly, yesterday I thought, considering I don't know how long they knew they were going to be without Timmy Allen. Did we know when that news even broke about Timmy Allen not being available?
It was after we had left. So it was.
So I say it wasn't something that they saw like days before. This is something that came.
No,
up.
I think it was something they may have known, but they did not want Oklahoma State to know. They were. It was one of those Sark things, you know. I don't need to tell you that.
Hey, he's right. You ain't got to tell us a damn thing.
So you don't want to let him prepare for not having a tape. Let him use as much time as they want to prepare for a guy you know is not going to play. It's an injury that apparently has been bugging him for a while, and they're just trying to get him fully healthy.
Okay. All right. All right. So there you go. Texas basketball. You got an 8 o'clock pregame right here because it's an 8:30 tip off there. And if you want to catch up with Texas baseball, you can do that. You said on the Bat, correct?
No, Texas baseball is on 1260 and 101.9.
101.9. There you go. Oh man, Patrick, always keeping us in the know. We appreciate him for that. All right. Other than Texas basketball tonight, what's on tap for you this weekend? Hopefully, I guess more Texas basketball.
Hopefully more Texas basketball. Watching more tournaments. This Sunday, 5 to 7 p.m., myself, Aaron Hogan, and Zay will be hosting a Selection Sunday show right here on 104.9 The Horn. We may be announcing a big giveaway that'll be happening too. But stay tuned for Sunday Selection show. I believe either if the women do not make the finals, Craig Way will be there. If not, Jeff Howe will be there. It's possible I could be there, and Zay will be running the board, and we're running around. But someone will probably be at UT to get a reaction. We know if UT can win today, Kansas is playing Iowa State right now. Last I checked, they were up. And if Kansas can win, if Texas can beat Kansas twice in 8 days, it makes it real hard not to give them a 1 seed.
That's very true.
It makes it real hard not to give Texas a 1 seed. So the possibility is still there. Of course, you got to beat TCU tonight.
They got an outside shot.
But to see Rodney Terry and this crew get past all the adversity that a lot of people thought this season might have been over after the Chris Beard news, to basically be looking dead on at a 2 seed right now, it's amazing. So that'll be very cool to get a reaction from the Texas team as well. And we'll be doing that Sunday at 5 p.m. right here on the Horn.
That's good. I mean, you got a busy weekend.
Man, you know, when is it not busy, Rod?
You got a busy weekend.
You see me when I'm off. I'm walking my dog around the neighborhood.
You are, man. You always, you're a great dog on the loot, too, the unofficial mascot of Ball Don't Lie. This weekend, hopefully watching some Texas basketball. Also, you got the Oscars.
Oh, is that this week? I
believe the Oscars are coming up, too. You haven't watched any?
I haven't watched any new movies in probably 5 years, if not longer.
That's because you're always busy.
Oh no, I watch Weird. Oh,
you did.
That's the one.
I haven't watched it yet either. I still got it on my queue. I'm gonna watch that too, actually, at one point. But yeah, I usually try to watch all of the Best Picture nominees before the Oscars. So, but I think I know who's gonna win it this year, though.
Okay.
I think the everything,
all
everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
It's probably going to
I've heard a lot of good things about that.
It's really good.
All right, let me ask you this.
It's really good.
We got about 2 minutes left. The tampering period, the legal tampering period starts at noon, so 3 hours before we go on the air. Who do you think will be the first signed person? Who do you think immediately someone goes out? Or you'll be a position. What position?
Free agent? Free agent wise?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good. I'm gonna go with pass rusher of some kind. It'll be I haven't looked at the pass rusher to see who they are, but it'll be a pass rusher signed first.
I think it's going to be a quarterback.
Oh, really?
I think someone is going to go hard in on quarterback and say everybody's looking at the draft. We're going the other way.
Wow.
It might be the Texans.
Oh yeah, Jimmy G.
Jimmy G might be a Texan before we take the airwaves.
You know what?
It would not surprise me.
What we just witnessed today with Carolina moving up to get that pick, if the Texans are going defense, then Jimmy G, yeah, that means they prioritize Jimmy G. And they, by the way, the offensive coordinator brought his name up at the introductory press conference.
Just saying.
No, you might be right. Might be right about that. Great job today, Patrick. We appreciate all your efforts, brother. Appreciate all the participation on the Specs text line. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on Ball Don't Lie. You got Texas basketball coming up pregame right here at 8 o'clock. Craig Way, the voice of the Longhorns, on the call with Eddie Oren. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Have a great weekend. Peace.